racer who went through quite a few teams in his career. Started at Minardi, ended at Ferrari, 231 races, 3 Grand Prix wins. Controversially at Brazil, where he was presented the trophy, I think it was at San Marino in Imola, the round after, because the result was in doubt for some time. Dominated the 2005 Australian GP to win for Renault, and then in 2006, which was his best season in Formula One, he won in Malaysia up at Sepang. Brilliant circuit. 4 poles, 19 podium finishes, and 4th in the 06 World Championship. And bear in mind that his career at Renault had to deal with Fernando Alonso as a teammate, so pretty worthy company to keep in the race team. And he carved out a really successful and extensive career in Formula One over 14 seasons at the top level of the sport. Cool to see him here. Lovely guy, really engaging, really enjoying being back in this part of the world. Always loved his trips to Australia racing in Formula One. Still stays sharp. He's a factory Ferrari driver in the FIA World Endurance Championship, racing in the GTE AM class in a Ferrari 488. So he's got a couple of wins in class at the Le Mans 24 Hour. He's had some wins at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. He's been successful at Sebring and in the IMSA Tour as well. So still sharp, still racing. Really enjoying being back in a car with no roof this weekend.
Yeah, he's loving his time here in Adelaide. He's always wanted to be here. Missed it by several weeks. In fact, started testing for Minardi a few weeks after the final Adelaide race here in 1995. Was the Italian F3 champion as well. He won in Formula 3 at Monaco, one of the prestigious races they have in that series. And of course, 4th in the World Championship in Formula 1 back in 2006. He's driven for some of the big teams in his career as well, but lovely to have him in the field here this weekend as part of the Tasman Series. And this is what it was about. We brought out some international stars in the first year that come out and raced in the exhibition races at Sandown. Sadly, we had to put it on ice for a season or so, but this will be the floodgates opening for international drivers to come out.
Something to have a look at the reason why we're under red flag. Really awkward moment up there at turn 4. Tim was a long way down the inside, wasn't he? The UCS crew car. Young Sebastian just turned in across the double Gold Star champion. Tim will retire from full-time racing after this weekend. So this will be the recovery car. Will go into the flatbed and they'll get it done. So nice work. They've worked quickly to get that car recovered. So Giancarlo Fisichella's got our in-car camera this weekend. I'd suggest crank this up, have a listen, enjoy a lap of the Adelaide Parkland circuit in an S5000.
About 80 seconds later, he's back at the finish line. One thing I picked up then listening to was the way he was blipping the throttle through the turns, particularly through the staircase. Yeah,
quite good under brakes as well, Giancarlo, especially down into the final corner, and maybe caught out a little bit by, that was Blake Purdy in front in the Nippy's car for Versa Motorsport. Cool to see him back though, and right, it looks so quick, doesn't it, when you're that low to the ground riding on the front wing nose pod of that car. There he is. Team BRM running this car, Adelaide-based squad. They've won 8 Australian Drivers' Championships, another one this year. Makes them the most successful team in that title race of all time, over 65 odd years of history. They're looking to beat GRM in the Tasman Series though. It's currently led by Nathan Hearn. Mawson on top at the moment with an 18.9. There's so much more performance potential to come, but they will just be so frustrated by not getting these laps in this session. And from here, they go straight into qualifying tomorrow morning.
But but should we get some going, just as a bit of you later on this afternoon on the bike.
Yeah, all the time. Yes.
This is one of the many activations we have going on here this weekend at the VALO Adelaide 500. That's over in what was the old Holden Heaven area, out by the racecourse grandstand, because back in the day, this was a horse racing track.
The precinct is amazing. There's so much to do and see, and lots of activities for the kids as well. Lots of temporary shade set up, which is going to be important on the weekend because there's quite warm conditions forecast for Saturday and Sunday, which is such a relief after the period of wet weather everyone has had over the last, 12 months, basically.
2 years.
Yeah. Corporate suites will be busy as well. Their corporate setups around this place are always impressive. And that's a look just on the inside of turn 11, isn't it, coming back into Victoria Park?
It's just impressive, the amount of work that's gone on here in the last 3 months to get it to where it is now. It's been a hive of activity, and they've been hindered by the weather, as Krause's mentioned. There's a good-looking sign. It takes you one of the great parts of the world.
Just feeling a bit homesick now, Nolts. Head up your way, nice part of the world up there, and we send our thoughts with the river communities in South Australia who have been madly preparing for the floods that are coming down, and the Premier's been up there a lot recently, big levee banks being built, so hopefully everyone in that part of the world takes care with it. Just incredible flooding that we've seen throughout New South Wales and Victoria that's now working its way down the Murray to this part of the world. Chateau Nolte will be okay.
Just at this stage, it's going to hint a lot of our Riverland towns it is right now. So while we're having fun down here, our thoughts are with everybody in the Riverland as that a massive amount of water starts making its way down from New South Wales and Victoria. The good news is the umbrellas are going away. The cars are coming back to life. Jason Barguana takes away that. So we don't want to see what's on the words of that sign. It said rain there. That can go away.
That's not going to happen. I like the improvisation, though. They didn't have a brolly down there at Barguana Motorsport. So they went to the volunteer officials and pinched one of the signs, the signalling signs, bit of call flute, and just stuck it over Ben Barguana's head. So I like that. That's improvisation at its best.
Many uses.
Yeah, fantastic.
So this will give us that little Hollywood time period we're going to have here with 4.5 minutes to go. We might get one flying lap at the end here at full speed because the UV's up, the temperature's up out there as well. We're about to find out. 18.9, no, not a bad start to the day. Yeah, correct.
Look, they're going to go way quicker. They'll be in the 16s somewhere in quali, I think, all going well if they get all the session time. And that, like I said, that's absolutely critical now. It's just getting lap time, getting track time as much as they possibly can. So the Valvoline GRM car leads the queue out. Ben Barguana, Jude Barguana, and then back to Noah Sands, Australian F3 champion this year. So he's got wings of experience. There's Jordan Boys in the Boost Mobile racing car. Back, did a nice job in these cars, the streets of the Gold Coast. He'll be one to watch. Always fast. Joey Mawson, if you're wondering, he's still car 27. They just changed the livery. They've got some new backers on board that car for this weekend in E&I Oils and Pilatus, who are based here in Adelaide, just out at Adelaide Airport. Great to see local companies getting on board with local events and backing some drivers to get them on the field. So well done to Seb Lip and his team at Pilatus as well for jumping on the side pods of Joey Mawson's car. Look at the marks on the racetrack there, Noel. It almost, you want to see it, but it's this beautiful brand new surface is already dirtied up with some skid marks.
Yeah, Matt Mingo changed that pretty quick this morning.
It'd take about 10 seconds letting him loose.
One of the first demonstrations of the day. He goes out and leaves his mark as he's done at many racetracks around the country. You look at Noah Sands, the 17-year-old from Leeton in New South Wales, as he takes us up Wakefield Street. With 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining, he's back in 10th position, but yet to lay down a time here of any speed as he makes his way through the staircase. This right, left and right combination up into Flinders Street, the change in the right-handed. In fact, takes you on to Hunt Street, which is the Adelaide CBD. At the outskirts here, that's how close we are to downtown Adelaide, which is a hive once again, and with this incredible weather forecast for the next 4 days and the concerts at night, this place will be heaving by Sunday. As they work their way down towards the work sweeper here, turn number 8 in this 3.2-kilometre course. Noah, in his second start in S5000, joined us at the Gold Coast in the first round of the Tasman Series back in October.
So 242 kilometres an hour at the speed track on the run up the hill towards 8. Then you could hear from that onboard we heard before with Fisichella, it's a lift, and then by the time they get to the apex, it's back to full throttle so they can drive out of that using the downforce, the aero that the cars do have. by open wheel standards, these cars don't have a lot of downforce, but relative to a supercar, they do. Yeah. More, and they're lighter as well. So about 800 kilos just over these cars. Running in about 475 brake horsepower this weekend. The state of tune. Still amply quick though. Mawson with an 18.3 on his first flyer. 18.5 for Aaron Cameron, who goes second. So we'll see some lap times. Can they get into the 17s at the end of this session? So Joey and Aaron will probably get one more lap, maybe two, if they time it right. These drivers crossing the line now will be starting their final lap of practice for the day. That includes Giancarlo Fisichella, who just dropped into the 19s.
There's Cooper Webster, 37, on the way down into the centre chicane now versus the Motorsport Toby Pope's team, which continues to get stronger and stronger. Rest of the field on their way down Bartels Road. Here's Mawson. And they're staying away from that wall on the outside as the track continues to take rubber. Transition into the new bitumen is pretty much at the breaking point too, so we'll see some errors there on more than one occasion, you think, this weekend. It
looks quite savage in these cars, especially. They don't have the ride control of a GT car, especially a supercar, so much less suspension travel and tyre movement in these cars. So that change of surface where the new track surface starts, which is right in the braking zone for turn 9, very noticeable. See what the lap time is for Joey. It's an 18.07. And he'll get another lap. All these cars will get one more lap across the line. Checkered flag out in 6 seconds from now. And they'll keep going and keep improving.
He might be getting there. He's just missed it, Rosser, so he'll finish the session.
I think he got there.
Did he? He did too. Macro's the first one across the line. Fisichella up in a 4th position now, the 19.2. Great lap for the Italian, into 4th position. Mawson is flying, but he's got traffic ahead. That's Ben Barguana in the Burson Auto Parts entry. Car 71. He could use the toe, but has. That hurt the lap. Into the sweeper we go.
Yeah, and the toe's great right up to the point where you need to turn into turn 8 and you don't have that effective downforce on your front wing because you're in the dirty air of the car in front. The push-to-pass system these cars have got, they've got 90 seconds a race to use rather than a set number of applications, but that's for racing only. It doesn't help you in practice or qualifying.
Yes.
You'll be able to tell that when rain light is flashing on these cars. That's an indication of when the push-to-pass is on.
Hearn, good lap here for the 29. Team Valvoline GRM car. 3rd position with a 19.2. He'll greet the checkered flag this time by the end of session. Ben Barguana went to 3rd.
Wow.
And Hearn says, nah, I'm going into Thursday night at the top with an 18.0 to be 200s clear of Mawson. We promised you the laps would be hot at the end, and they've delivered.
Didn't quite crack the 17s, and that's just down to a lack of running because the next lap would have been quicker again, and then knowing these cars and this tyre, the next lap even faster again. So Nathan Hearn ends it on top, 28 hundredths of a second in front of Joey Mawson with Aaron Cameron in 3rd. Jordan Boys next. Great lap at the end, Ben Barguana. In fact, he was quickest of everybody in the final sector until Hearn popped up. Noah Sands in 6th. That's a good effort. Fisichella, Webster, Macro and Purdy rounding out the top 10 with dramas in that session for young Sebastian Amadio, who found the fence after contact with Tim Macro up at turn 4.
Qualifying to come here tomorrow. My thanks to Richard Crail, the S5000 Tasman Series. Hey, this guy's in the house, 3-time Supercar champion and NTT IndyCar star. Scott McLaughlin joins us on the desk as we count down to a big weekend here at the VALO Adelaide 500. We kick off the new season on the streets of Newcastle.
Supercars will hit the streets of Newcastle next year in a much-anticipated return to the Supercars calendar. And if past events are anything to go by, you won't want to miss this.
They've hit on the way up the hill. Ricky's out of business. He's off the road.
Tickets are on sale from ticketek.com.au. And all the action live in HD and ad-break free in race. Right here on Fox Sports.
Yeah, we met.
confirming he is doing.
Yeah, mate, you got me there? Yep, sweet.
Let's get this party started. Supercar action begins right here in Adelaide. Whincup grabs second gear and prevails on the run to turn one. Reynolds on the outside, position two. And Mostert is going to try and make this stick while he can. He's back. Managed to sneak down the inside. They are side by side on the run down towards turn one. This is a great battle.
Here's the crisscross. This is now the crisscross. Now Cam Waters is going to fill the hole. Oh, that's exactly what happens.
Ooh, look at Reynolds having a dive.
Cam Waters.
He lines it up out of the final corner, and Jamie Whincup adds to an already impressive library and catalogue of victories in Adelaide. And a great start by McLaughlin. And he sweeps down and grabs the lead. So it's McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen, and Waters to third.
Oh,
Trouble down here at 9. Huge trouble. Deeper Swaley's involved.
Yep. So this will be a safety car, I would think.
And one of the advantages of being at the end of pit lane for the Shell V-Power Racing team is they can keep an eye on 97 here. And queuing Coulthard, who has to give right of way.
What
And
happened
he's
there? They
jumped in.
swapped around.
Yeah, so Van Gisbergen's jumped him. I heard the crowd. Gets down the inside, or does he? He pokes the nose, but no, it's a front. It's had a failure. He's gone straight ahead at turn 7. And he lines it up, and the fans respond. It's his 44th career victory in Supercars on the streets here in Adelaide. Well done, Scott McLaughlin.
The good old days. Welcome back to our live coverage here from the Adelaide 500. If you are just joining us, practice one for Supercars is not too far away. First, let's say a very good afternoon to five-time Supercars champion Mark Skaife and three-time Supercars champion Scott McLaughlin, who is our special guest this weekend and will be joining us on the panel. You're shaking your head watching that, Scotty, saying it still annoys you.
It still frustrates me a little bit, you know, getting dropped out behind Shane there a little bit, but we came back and won, so thankfully that we got through. But hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this weekend. We'll see how we go. You've
got the same curse as Mark Skaife. You can just really easy to let things go.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, I hope.
Good to see you, Mark Skaife. How thrilled are we to be back here at Adelaide? It was only announced in June that we would be making the return to the Adelaide 500 after we missed out last year, obviously through COVID, and it was looking unlikely that it was going to happen. The government here have done a brilliant job to pull the circuit together. It is looking absolutely pristine. In fact, it's a massive upgrade compared to when we were here last.
Afternoon, Jess. Afternoon, Scott, and everybody. This is great news for us to be back here, and great news for South Australia, because the place is absolutely pristine. They've worked so hard on it, Jess. And the place, in terms of the resurfacing, for whatever reason, Scotty and I were just saying a second ago, you look at that old vision from 2020 and the colour of the road was completely different. Yeah. The way that they've energised this, they haven't just reinstated it, they've reinvigorated it. And they've done an absolutely tremendous job. All the big screens, all of the signage, all the grass is green. The attention to detail is superb.
Yeah, I think the big screens for me are one, because we're always on a street circuit looking at big screens, checking out the racing. You use them as tools. There's about 400 more of them than there's ever been. So it's awesome to see, and great for the South Australian government, and big thanks to them.
Yeah. Lots to talk about in terms of the circuit and the precinct this weekend, and you touched on it. There's been a massive resurface here. Basically, the run into turn 8, and the run out of turn 8 is the only thing that hasn't been touched. Everything else is brand new. So just talk us through how that happens and the consequences post the resurfacing. What are we going to see on track, particularly today as everyone tries to come to grips with it?
Well, I think you're going to actually change the character of the place a little bit, and Scott and I have been talking about this offline. There's some camber changes that have, I think, improved the overtaking. Yep. There's some bump reductions in some areas that used to hurt us for the length of the braking area at, say, Wakefield Street at turn 4. And I think based on the surface height, you'll actually be able to use more of the curb at turn 2 and turn 4. Yep. So I would expect the lap speed to come up. It's probably going to be circa 1 second a lap faster. But I think the racing ability through the course of the weekend on the Dunlop hard tyre will actually be better. Yeah, it will be interesting, because obviously the brake distance is going to be smaller as well. So with the extra grip at the mid-corner, and you know, the curb is, for me, is a big talking point for me looking at it, because I think the curbs were a massive issue here, or you know, we use them a lot just to turn the car. It may be better to miss them. It might be faster to go around them, and use the grip of the new surface. So, but it's interesting. No resurfacing at turn 8. I can't imagine there's not going to be any fireworks there this weekend. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm kind of glad I'm sitting in the chair over here, like, in some ways. We often talk about it, just don't we? Turn 8. This corner here is one of the best corners that we ever go to. That some blokes, they ride mad big waves, they jump out of aeroplanes, they climb big mountains. We go car racing because corners like that, it's just a tremendous corner. I always build up to it. I never went in full bore for the first 10 laps, I reckon. You got to feel your way in, and it'll be interesting who does that and who doesn't. Yeah.
Is this the one that haunts you on the lead into an event like this? You're doing laps, thousands of laps around the circuit and focusing on turn 8 because of how consequential it is?
Oh, absolutely. You go in there every track walk every year, it feels smaller and smaller, the entries, and you know, seeing that for the very first time going into there at speed is full on. But you know, like I said, I think if you don't have a moment there throughout the weekend, you're not trying hard enough. Everyone will have a moment there at some point.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have the moment. They want it earlier on in the weekend as opposed to later on in the weekend when it really counts. So we're expecting lap time to get faster this weekend as a consequence of the resurfacing. The evolution of the car since we were last here has been massive too. Does it make it more of an even playing field this weekend?
I think it does, Jess. I mean, we've often spoken in the recent past about 8 or 10 cars that are capable of winning. But I think that gets expanded based on no one knowing what the grip level is going to be like. Yeah. And you won't actually, in terms of the curb usage, you won't need to be as savvy around how the curb usage is applied and how the car settles off the curb. So I'm expecting more people to be in contention. I'm expecting the strategies to be a bit different, and even the critical lap number, because as we go faster, what's going to happen is that the fuel usage will go up. So you'll probably use 2 to 3% more fuel, and that then backs everything up in terms of what the critical lap number is in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. The pace of the race is going to be completely different to what we've seen, and how hard you are on brakes, how hard you are on fuel and tyres, as you said. So it's going to be exciting to watch. I think how people use that. Do you drop a little bit earlier just to get in front of a guy and then save some fuel potentially? Potentially we could see that, but. Look, the guys behind us have been doing great stuff all year. I think they're the ones that they are going to be hard to beat. But absolutely, I think that the floor is open for anyone to win this weekend.
And throw in the heat as a factor too. We've got a pristine forecast coming up for you across the weekend. It's absolutely beautiful here today, but it's set to get hotter and hotter as the weekend progresses. So that'll be another big story we'll have our eye on as well. But lots of news to catch up on since we were last on the Gold Coast a couple of weeks ago. So let's say a very good afternoon to Chad Nalon, who has all the latest. Chad?
Yeah, g'day Jess. Getting a bit of that famous South Aussie sunshine myself right now. I'm standing at the front of James Golding's Subway Commodore because I want to start here right now with this young guy. He's just been given a new contract for 2023 by Premier Racing, so well done to James Golding. It came straight off the back of the Gold Coast event. Remember, he only started with the team at Townsville, and he's really lit this whole team to life. He put it in the top 10 shootout, their first ever shootout, and his 2 at the Gold Coast. And so that's a nice reward for James to be known that he's going to be on the grid solid for next year. Unfortunately, though, we did see it end in tears for him at the Gold Coast with that nasty shunt through the beach chicane. So that is a different car to the one that was racing at the Gold Coast. So chassis swap, that's actually the car that Triple Eight were running as the wildcard entry recently at Mount Panorama. So new car for him this weekend, and that was a big, big crash. He did sprain his wrist as well in that accident, but the good news is he's back and fighting fit. He was racing go-karts recently in Las Vegas at the Supernuts. Speaking of chassis swaps, there's been another one down at Tickford. It's been a tough, tough year for them with crash damage. And for James Courtney, they've actually elected to change chassis off the back of the Gold Coast weekend for them. So that's a car that he raced early in the season. It was the car that was crashed on lap 5 at Mount Panorama in the Bathurst 1000. So he's hopped back into that car, and they've done a very good job at Tickford in repairing that one. I've moved down to Matt Stone Racing because we were talking about it at the Gold Coast, Jess. Who was going to take car 35 for next year? And straight off the back of the Gold Coast event, it was announced that Cameron Hill, who's a star of the future in the Super 2 ranks driving for Triple Eight, is going to be in a Gen 3 Camaro driving for car 35. He's going to be sharing this team with Jack LeBrock in the sister Camaro for next year. So well done to Cam Hill. And if you're unaware of his pathway to get here, Australian kart champion, Australian Formula Ford champion. He towed everybody up in the 86s, then went and won in Carrera Cup. He currently sits 4th in the points in Super 2, and he's in with a very small chance of winning that championship there. So he's taken the proper pathway to get there, and he's finally going to have his first full-time season. But yeah, Cam Hill sitting in that championship battle in Super 2. And Jess, there's 5 drivers in contention here this weekend. It's currently Declan Fraser driving for Triple Eight, who's got that points lead from Zach Best. It's one of the many storylines that I'm looking forward to. We've never seen the championship wrapped up here in Super 2, but that is definitely one of the big talking points here at the Adelaide 500.
What a massive stage on which to crown our Super 2 champion this weekend. Thank you, Chad. And of course, we've got a front row seat to our champion for 2022 in the Supercars series in Shane Van Gisbergen. We thought we'd spy on him this weekend here on Fox Sports, so we'll have you covered in that regard. But here at the season finale, we're also unveiling a number of the Fans' Choice Supercars Awards. So to kick us off, it is the Best Presented Award. To do the honours, here's Garth.
Thanks, Jess, and we're down in the Red Bull Ampol Racing Garage. Jamie Whincup, congratulations. This team has won the Fans' Choice Best Presented Team Award. And I know this team prides itself on how well everything looks, so congratulations.
Thank you, Garth. Fantastic. Means a lot. It means probably a lot more than you'd expect. The work that goes on to present the cars after both drivers go out there and trash them every race, to get them back out the next day looking brand new. The pit facility, it's a day's work to set up, it's a day work to pull down. We feel like we're the last team here on a Sunday night. Everyone else has left and we're still packing up our stuff. So this award means a lot. There's one of our team members, his name's Scooter. He puts massive pride in how the cars look and attention to detail. So I'm going to dedicate this one to him.
Congratulations.
Thanks, GT. Cheers.
Well, it is time for a quick break here at the Adelaide 500. When we come back, we'll catch up with Supercars rookie Brock Feeney and look back on his season in the championship. Stay with us, there's still plenty more to come as our live coverage continues here at the Adelaide 500.
so far.
Yep.
Just have a quick hello.
Yep. Hello. Test 1, 2.
Nicely done, Brock Feeney. Nice job.
In third place for Red Bull and Pole Racing, here's Brock Feeney.
Welcome back to our live coverage from the Adelaide 500. We're counting down to practice 1 for Supercars. In the meantime, we thought we'd catch up with Supercars rookie Brock Feeney to take a look back on his very first full-time season in Supercars. We saw it there, 2 podium finishes, 23 top 10 finishes. If you're going to write the report card, without this weekend included, how do you feel like it's gone? And can you quite believe that almost 12 months has passed?
Yeah, it's crazy. It feels like it's gone so fast, but when I think back to Sydney, it feels like ages ago. So it's been an awesome year. I've loved every minute of it. Of course, there's the ups, the downs, but still 1 to go. But 6th in the championship. This deep into the year, I'm pretty happy with that. And obviously, the team's championship in that as well is pretty important.
So we've gone through a couple of those highlights that just mentioned, and we just saw the little reel of some of the things that have happened this year. Give me your best performance. Which one are you the most proud of in terms of your first year into the main game?
Obviously, the 2 podiums stand out. I mean, Tasmania, I think 4th race in to battle with Shane and to get 2nd in that race was pretty cool. But for me, probably Sandown was my better drive. I came from 9th and fought the way up to 3rd and, past Chaz and a few of those guys. So I feel like that was probably a more mature drive. Back at Tassie, I was sort of just hanging on and driving as fast as I could, and somehow we got a podium.
What do you think has been the steepest learning curve then coming into the main game?
It's just the jump from Super 2. I mean, we did 5 rounds last year, but, you go from 18-lap races to 80-lap races, and what happens in that 80 laps is completely different. So luckily enough, I'm learning off a pretty good handy guy next to me and trying to pick his brain. But I mean, the racing, the tyre saving, all that sort of stuff is massive, and it affects your results massively.
What about just the genuine level of intensity? I mean, they play for keeps, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's hard work, and found that out at Sydney. I got in there and you're getting beaten up a little bit, but it's not really the rookie thing, it's just Supercars racing. So I'm enjoying it. You just got to get used to it, and same thing again. I mean, the guy next to me is the best at it, so just trying to watch what he's doing and learn off him and the rest of the team.
Well, give us some insight then into your working relationship with Shane and what it's been like to have him as a teammate and the role that he's played, I guess, in your development and progression so far this season.
Yeah, no, it has been massive, and at the start of the year, I didn't know what to expect because, last year with them travelling away quite a lot, I didn't get to spend too much time with, him or Jamie, and this year I'm obviously working close with him and travelling a lot, so he's been really good. You know, there's a few times he'd sit down with me and point a few things out. Same at Gold Coast. He followed me in practice at the end and, basically told me to hit the tyre bundles, not drive around them. So it's been good. Good to learn off and the rest of the crew. I'm just the young kid that's come in. They've got a lot of experience and they're happy to hand it on.
Yeah.
So I have a similar situation because as a young bloke, I had Jim Richards, a very fast Kiwi who was probably the best touring car driver in the world at the moment. This bloke behind us might be that right now. But when you think about that and the rapport that Jess was just asking about, is Shane completely honest with you about the line, the trajectory of the car, the placement of the car, the methodology about going fast? Because often the relationship is a really difficult one. Are you happy with the feedback and the transparency?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're an open book. This team, I can go and look at anything he's doing, with the data, the video. And it's the same with the engineers with, setups where, we roll out with the same setups and we work together as close as we can. And as we always say, the team wins first before the drivers do it. So I suppose I'm not a massive threat to him at the moment this year. And we've got along really well. And even times that we have had close battles, we've respected each other and got along well. But 100%, if I ask him something, he'll answer me with the straight up answer.
That's good.
You are in the top tier team. The champion of the series is sitting next to you. Tell me what the pressure has been like this year from your point of view and what you think it's going to be next year, what the debrief will be in the off season and how you sort of set that bar for yourself going into next year.
Yeah, I think the biggest things, you get through your rookie year and, you have your little mistakes. It's about stepping up to the next level. And I think everyone's pretty happy with this year. I mean, Teams Championship's obviously a big one. And to tick that off, in the first year is pretty cool. But, yeah, the biggest thing for me next year is stepping up to that next level. And I think Gen 3 gives me a bit more of an opportunity to do that. And I'm looking forward to it. And, hopefully I'm closer to Shane and battling for more podiums and hopefully wins.
But I think at the end of it, Jess, you've got to say, if you come into the start of the year and say, I'm going to finish in the top 6 in your first year back in what is this incredibly competitive series, arguably the most competitive touring car series in the world, it's a very, very good job. Excellent job.
Unbelievable. Congratulations on your first rookie season. It's not over yet.
Thank you.
Well done.
I know that you've got plenty to prove this weekend too here on the streets of Adelaide, so we can't wait. Counting down to practice one for Supercars, not too far away, but it is time for a quick break. When we come back, the Super 2 Series will be out on track. And don't forget, the Bathurst 12 Hour is coming up. You'll be able to see it all live right here on Fox Sports.
International GT racing is coming back to Bathurst. Before sunrise, Mount Panorama will roar to life in an endurance racing showdown like no other. The best drivers in Australia are set to take on an all-star international lineup, racing the best GT cars on the planet. Come and see the world versus the mountain at the Liqui-Moly Bathurst 12 Hour, February 3 to 5. Camping available at bathurst12hour.com.au. Tickets on sale now through Ticketek.
mean, the final round here in Adelaide is pretty special for everyone. I think since we haven't been back here for so long, it's, yeah, everyone's going to be itching to get going. For me, it's first time here, so got to learn the track and do everything like that. But also with the championship, you know, it's going to be close between Declan and Zach and Cameron behind me. So it's going to be all to play for sure. Not coming to a track before, I guess, is it does make things a lot harder. You know, you haven't had previous experience. You don't really know where the margins are, I guess. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of take the first session cautiously and build up to it, I think is the right word to say for around here, as it's a pretty sketchy joint. So yeah.
Just got to win. That's it. That's all you got to do. So yeah, no pressure, but so there we go. So qualifying is going to be probably the most important thing, like around a street track, and that's been probably one of our strengths this year, being probably the front two rows most of the time. So yeah, we just need to build on what we did last round at Bathurst, and yeah, hopefully get another few poles and take out the pole award for the year. Obviously, I'd like to say we raced on Saturday because I wanted the extra points for closing the gap in the championship, but yeah, if it was up to me, I would have went out. But yeah, it was probably the right call though, really, with all the water. So yeah, it's just one of those things, but yeah, we'll just have to keep fighting here this weekend. Everything looks a lot smoother and the curbs look a lot less aggressive, so yeah, hopefully it's faster and we can break lap record or something cool.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to be here at Adelaide for the final Super 2 rounds. It's a place that I've been a few times in the past when I was competing in the Carrera Cup, and it's a track that I really enjoy. It's quite challenging, so first time in a supercar, but I think there's going to be a lot of guys here that are having their first time as well. I do think there'll be differences between the Cup car and the supercar. Obviously, these cars are a lot more compliant when it comes to sort of riding curbs and bumps. So I'm getting my head around where I can use that to my advantage. But then at the same time, you know, it's still about going as fast as you can, braking as late as you can. So that's what I'll be out to do. Yeah, obviously for me, I finally know what I'm doing next year, which is going to be racing full time in supercars with Matt Stone Racing. So for me, it's pretty awesome. You know, a little bit of a relief to know what I'll be doing next season, and I can really just enjoy the weekend and go out there and do the best I can.
So someone's handed me the mic for the biggest interview of the weekend. So we're here with Declan Fraser, the bloke running for the championship this weekend. The one with it all on the line, you know, we're all chasing you down. How you feeling?
Yeah, I've heard that everyone's seen all the press releases about everyone chasing me down. So my mentality is the same. I'm here to win and just see how we go. There's a lot on the line this weekend, but my nothing's changed in the way that I approach it. I'm just here to go out and try and win some races.
So is it a sended approach or is it a calculated approach? We all want to know.
Well, everyone else seems to be sending it. Every single article I've seen this weekend says they're just all or nothing. So for me, it's just exactly how I approach Townsville, exactly how I approach Sandown. It's make sure that I just go out there and just do the best job possible, and hopefully we come away with the championship.
Should be fun. Can't wait to be in front of you too.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there, mate.
So yeah, how are you feeling about the Adelaide track? It's a pretty crazy one. You haven't actually been here in a supercar at least. Daunting, or are you pretty excited for it?
I actually was lucky enough to go do some laps this morning on the track days. So for me, I've done so much stuff on the simulator and also done so much research with footage and everything. And this year, I guess it's not new for everybody, but there's a new surface, the curbs are different, the way the track dynamic is, it's all different. So I'm just excited. It's such a cool track. It's such a cool atmosphere. Just watching it on TV for so many years, I'm just excited that I actually get to be here and get to drive. And yeah, hopefully we come away with a strong result.
Yeah, definitely one of the favourites. I've got to say, this is my favourite track. But I was disappointed when I was gone, but I'm glad to be back here.
Yeah, should be good.
Championship leader in Dunlop Series, Declan Fraser, chatting with our new junior reporter, Matt Charter, getting down here yesterday, picking up a microphone. What can't that guy do? He was on the grid at Bathurst racing as a wild card, as was Declan Fraser. And big thank you to Matty for helping out yesterday, grabbing a microphone. So, let's do battle here on the streets of Adelaide, and this is what it looks like in the Dunlop Series. Declan Fraser brings in a 75-point lead. There's 300 available. 2 races, each worth 150. So that means everyone down to Tyler Everingham still in mathematical contention for this one. He would need something of a miracle in the City of Churches to win it from that far back. Not impossible. 5 drivers vying for this one. And it's already been a busy day. Practice one earlier today, Chris Murden in Super 3 swiped the wall going through the centre chicane. Garth Tan in the com box for this one. That was okay, got away with it, but it nearly compounded itself dramatically when he went rolling backwards in the direction of his teammate right there.
Yeah, so the Scott McLaughlin Fujitsu tribute car, well, not tribute, it's actually a retro livery. That car used to be Scotty McLaughlin's, and teammate at Matt Stone Racing in the Super 3 Championship, Chris Smurd, just got it wrong off the turn 2 curb, grazed the wall, was able to drive the car back with a little bit of damage, and that was a bit of a heart in the moment mouth, wasn't it, Chad, in practice one? We don't need to be seeing too much of that, but it's going to be an interesting weekend in the Dunlop Series. We heard from Declan Fraser earlier, a great interview, by the way, by Matt Charter. So, Chad Naylor, watch out, your job's on the line there, because Matt Charter can drive a car and do TV. You can, well, you can't drive a car.
It's true.
So, with Fraser, though, he's, you know, with 75 points, it's not like you can cruise around and be comfortable, but then you can't put the car into the fence this afternoon, for example, trying to lay a time down to put a bit of pressure back on the rest of the field. So, you need to be very, very cautious and make sure that every lap is calculated, it's cautious, but you still need to qualify up near the front. So, although Fraser's in the championship lead and's got, you know, it all to lose, he's probably got more to lose than the others. The others can just send it, have a crack, and put the pressure back on the championship leader. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. Interesting couple of qualifying sessions tomorrow, and then 2 very interesting races.
You haven't seen me drive a race car yet, Garth. Just putting that out there.
Oh, I've had some reports.
You get the pleasure of sharing a hire car with me at most events. That's probably enough. Tyler Everingham, part of this championship battle. 5th, 170 odd points back. Did race here back in 2020. If my memory serves me correctly, I think he had an incident maybe in the qualifying sessions that robbed him out of a race. Oh, second time off the road today for the 49. Thankfully this time not on the fence. You can see that tiny little dent on the quarter panel, the left front of this car from earlier today in practice one.
Jay Hansen finding his way just back onto the racetrack in front of Aaron Seaton there. Matt Payne, who was very fast in practice one earlier today.
And we've got Rihanna Crean, as always, in the lane for the Dunlop Series, lapping up some rays down there, Rihanna.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chad and Garth. I mean, how spectacular is the day here in Adelaide? Picture perfect blue skies, the sun is shining, and it's just so good to be here at the VALO Adelaide 500. I've spent the morning walking around the precinct. It is absolutely stunning. But let's talk about the cars that are on track. Dunlop Super 2 haven't been here since 2019, which means not a lot of drivers have very much experience around this racetrack. If we go through them, Ange Mazuris, Zane Morse, Matt Charter, Tyler Everingham and Zach Best, they're the only drivers who have experience racing around the streets of Adelaide. So expect plenty of action this weekend because a lot of these are on their debut.
Yeah, it's a cool fact, isn't it? We could put them on a track where they've got loads of experience and we'll get max entertainment. How about a track where they've got none experience almost at all? They've had one practice session of 40 minutes. And Matt Payne on screen right now, we heard from him in that package on the way into this session. He's just seeing the joint for the first time. He's from New Zealand, never even got to be here as a race fan before. So this is new turf for him. But it's been a year of new ground for him. He's been racing in Europe, doing a lot of GT racing there. Learning circuits has been pretty much a regular thing for him so far in 22.
On board here with Zach Best on his way down to turn 9, up behind Gary Collins in one of the Super 3 Commodores, ex-Perkins Motorsport car. Zach makes his way around them. Zach Best was fastest in practice one this morning, so using that experience that he had here previously in a supercar. A lot of the drivers have been here before, but they were in the other support categories, your Toyota 86s or things like that. So very, very few drivers with relevant supercar experience on the streets of Adelaide. Zach Best being one of them.
A lot of these drivers, particularly the teenagers, are so new to driving cars that we haven't been to Adelaide in the time that they've been in four doors. So check out the shot here of
Jay Hansen.
He's a great example.
Just runs it a little wide off the curb at turn 13 and drops a wheel in the grass, and that won't be the last time we see that this weekend. As Chad mentioned, you can just see a little bit of damage on the left front guard there from the first session, practice one, when it just touched the wall up at turn 7. Championship leader Declan Fraser already back in the lane. currently third in this session. Let's hear from Craig in pit lane.
Yeah, guys, I'm walking up and down pit lane as well, and just looking outside of the front of these garages, and we look down here, every team have got their brand new set of Dunlop rubber tyres in the sun. So halfway through this, or towards the end, I reckon every car is going to come in and have another crack at a lap time. So this is going to be a good form guide of where everyone's standing on this racetrack.
It's a form guide that I'm looking forward to seeing, Craig, because we didn't quite get there at the end of practice one with a red flag that led to an early demise to that session. But the track is quick, already into the 21s, 4/10ths quicker than where we were in practice one here in 2020. Qualifying lap record, Tom Randall set that back here in 2020. That was a 1:20.4, 20s in that sentence. And wondering if we're going to get into the 20s in this session.
So as you mentioned, Chad, it was a 1:21.7 effectively by Zach Best that was fastest in practice one. Currently Matt Payne sets the pace with a 22.4, so 7/10ths of a second away from that time earlier, but much warmer now. You heard Craig Lowndes mention from pit lane and Rihanna just how much sun there is out there, although it's like Tony Ordino is stuck up at pit entry there.
Yep, hopefully hasn't done a David Coulthard. I think this is more mechanical than pit wall.
Not blocking pit lane, so cars will be able to get around the back of him. But yeah, I was saying earlier, there's Cameron Crick. Tries, can he get through? Marshals are waving him on through. Should be able to get around the back, but a lot more sun on the circuit at the moment, so when this surface, we've spoken a lot about the brand new surface here on the streets of Adelaide. You can see how black the tarmac is, so when the sun's out, it attracts the heat. We all know how much heat is more attracted to black things, and tarmac being no different, so it actually ramps up the temperature much more quickly when the surface is brand new and has sun on it. So track temperature will play a big part this weekend on just how much grip this surface will deliver.
6 of the drivers in the field raced, well actually 8 when you include Rowbotham and Charter, raced at the Great Race. Quick chance, seeing as you were in the field at Bathurst. Which of the drivers, as we check out Rowbotham, one of those drivers who raced at the Great Race, his teammate went off down there early in the session.
Told you we'd see that again, Chad.
Yeah, a bit of data sharing between the Image boys down there.
I'd give Jay a bit more points for style. He had crossed up nicely coming into 14 there.
So Garth, which of the Dunlop Series drivers who raced in the Great Race impressed you at Bathurst?
Oh.
Did you see any out there?
Well, I spent a bit of time with Matt Payne on the track. Yeah. It was behind me for a little while. It's good to go toe-to-toe with young Matt. I was really impressed with the effort that Matt Charter and Jay Rowbotham put in that wildcard car. They ran that car themselves, obviously, as a team, and stayed out of trouble. Really tricky conditions. Obviously, the weather was really challenging all week, and then particularly challenging at the start of the race. Stayed out of trouble through all that. So yeah, I was impressed with quite a few of them. You know, they do a good job. And I mean, you talk about the level of competition in the Dunlop Series now. The level continues to rise and gets tougher and tougher every year. This year's been a really tough championship, so that brings the skill level up, you know, and then when they get the opportunity to race in the main game in the endurance races, they're much closer to the mark than they have been in the past. There's a bit going on here. I thought Zach Best was having a moment too. There he is in the background. Turn 13 is turning it on. So that was Danaher in the ex-Dick Johnson racing car, and I just caught Zach Best as he went out of shot, out of control off the track. He found his way down into the grass at turn 14.
We saw a few slipping down there in practice one. That's 4 in this session that have gone off down there now. He was completely around. It's Danaher. And it was, the AU Falcon was entered on the entry list, but haven't seen it out there so far this weekend. And
so Zach's had to react, actually. It was Lee Wallace in the ex-Gary Rogers Motorsport car. Yep. It was sort of propped right on the racing line, and Zach was committed and had to abort stage left. Doesn't look all that impressed with it either, to be honest. Got away with it, thankfully. But it's just that sort of thing. We were talking about Declan Fraser and how he has to be careful and considered every lap that he does. And it's just that sort of thing that can catch you out, even in practice. And if that had gone a little bit wrong, the walls aren't too far away. Tony Ordino, clearly some sort of issue with his Falcon. Could not get it back to, well, all the way back to his pit box. Boys go to work, see what they can find.
Craig, what's the latest down there in the lane?
Yeah, guys, I'm actually just standing beside car 4 and spoke to Tony. he got out of the car and you see him just looking around. He's not quite sure. It's mechanical. He said it just started to make a really, really bad grunting noise. He doesn't know whether it's a gearbox or something with the engine, but I can't see any fluids coming out of it, so I'm assuming I'll cancel out the engine side of it. So he thinks a gearbox has just lost drive.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig. Like they're missing a few gears on the door there on the gear as well. So it's gone all through the car, that problem.
Come out and knock the stickers off the sides of the car as well. Zach Best makes his way back into the lane after that adventure down at turn 14. Here we are on the rear wing end plate of Matt Charter's Cat Workwear Falcon.
This is the perfect camera angle for turn 8, I reckon.
It looks like we're on an outlap, bringing the tyre up to temperature. You can just see here how close to the wall you run on approach, and even on an outlap, probably half a car margin there, but when we get to a full proper push lap, you'll run that rear wing end plate right up against the concrete on the exit of turn 8. This will be a great one to check out in qualifying. It's maximum commitment. You just hear Matt riding the brake, trying to bring the tyre up to temperature. He comes into the last sector, preparing to start for the next push lap, first time by on the start-finish line.
They've acquired themselves a Ford Mustang GT for next year in the Super 2. As the current model cars in the main game filter down to the Dunlop Series. It's Jay Hansen. We saw him off the road at 14. Trying his luck through the centre chicane this time. First time racing here in the Dunlop Series.
That little effort's earned him a curb strike as he went across the curb at turn 2, went out of bounds, and that's Lee Wallace's car. And I'm not sure, it's meant to have red stuff coming out of it, so could be power steering fluid based on the colour of that. Nance Mazuris makes his way in with the front guard hanging off the car, so a little bit going on in this one, Chad.
This used to be a regular thing for the Nissans here because they'd get the tyre bundle at turn 1 and flick that back a bit. You can win the Sandown 500 looking like that, so I wouldn't worry too much about that guard peeling away. They may have to worry about it in practice, though, sadly. So, yeah, Adam Wallace's GRM car looking a bit sad. Going to see the celebrating Lee Holdsworth last round here by bringing that car back out of retirement this weekend. There's a lot going on down there, Craig.
Yeah, there definitely is, and you're definitely right. I actually did a Mark Larkham and got down there and actually had a feel and a sniff of it. It's definitely coolant, so it's not power steering or oil or anything else. It's not oil. It's definitely coolant coming out of the bottom or the backside of the engine, so whether it's a radiator hose or something down the back, or whether it's a bit more terminal, but yeah, definitely a lot of coolant that's coming out of Wallace's car.
Zach Best, I just wanted to get a very quick chat before you head back out. You've got some experience, limited but not a lot. What are those track conditions like at the moment?
Yeah, it's very breezy now with the track temperature obviously changing with the sun out, so now it's difficult for us, so we're just trying to set the car up for tomorrow's qualifying, so it'd be probably a bit different between the two sessions, but yeah, hopefully we can get a nice and speedy to get a pole.
Thank you. Good luck.
No worries.
Thank you, Zach. So qualifying tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. and then a late one later in the day, 4:40 p.m., actually 5 p.m. for the Super 2 cars. So big change in track evolution and track conditions expected, particularly between those two sessions alone.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, you think it's local time here in South Australia, 3:15 in the afternoon, so that's almost smack bang in the middle of those two sessions. So you're going to have varying track conditions, even from a weather perspective, and how much sunlight's on the racetrack at 12 o'clock in the day, 3 o'clock where we are right now, then again in the evening at 5. So teams will be right now just working on balance effectively. Just car balance is car balance. Doesn't matter if the track's greasy or the track's grippy. If you've got a car that's balanced, that's what you want to look for. So the teams will continue to work on that. As Cameron Hill comes down to turn 14, right up behind Ray Hislop. He's running the Tickford tribute livery on that car, the livery that they ran at Bathurst one year.
If you want another change.
Cameron Hill moves up to third with that effort. 22.46. See actually his teammate, championship leader, Declan Hill, that's gone to the top with a 22.03. So that's a fair improvement in lap time that we've had just recently.
There he goes, Kai Allen, confirmed to be driving in the Super 2 series next year, so he'll step up from Super 3 to Super 2, and it was a different part of the racetrack where Ange's guard peeled back. Could have been from contact around the circuit earlier in the lap, and he came straight back in. Craig.
Guys, I'm just down here in Morse's car and they're just doing a rear spring change. But I'm looking at the tyre that's actually just come off and been run on the circuit. See how smooth it is. So with this new bitumen surface, it doesn't look like now it's chewing into the tyre, the Dunlop tyre, as much as it was. So maybe the tyre is actually going to get more life out of it over the course of the weekend, especially when the track starts to rubber up.
Oh, thank you, Craig. That was Kai Allen very sideways through turn 8. Just caught a little shot of him wagging the tail of the Boost Mobile Commodore through there. I can't see any scratches down the side of it. Greasy track is the words of Zach Best.
And that correlates with what Craig was just talking about with the surface of the tyre, how it looks shiny. That means the tyre's not biting into the road and you're not getting the graining look that you sometimes get on the tyre. So when they're shiny like that, on brand new surfaces, the tarmac's a very smooth finish, almost like a mirror finish on it. So it's only when the tarmac starts to age and you get the rocks exposed that starts to get quite aggressive on the tyre. So probably not the same lit. It's strange, isn't it? Because there'll be definitely more rubber in the racetrack now. Here's Kai Allen, and that's as close as you want to get without touching the wall. Does a nice job to keep it off. But the track will be rubbering in now. There's another shot, Kai Allen. You can see him pull the car away from the wall straight away. As the track rubbers in, it gets more grip, but as the sun comes out, you lose grip. So you're fighting one against the other right now. When we roll out tomorrow morning, first thing, this track will be very, very fast after a day of running it on it.
Young Kai running the boards through turn 8.
Oh, Danaher just
boy.
Off the curb at 2. Gets a tank slapper up, and that's turning the wrong way right now for turn 3.
Oh, it's got to get worse before it gets better, or is it going to pull up? Wow.
Go to the straight down to the lottery, down to the newsagents, buy a lottery ticket.
He's done.
I think he's put the white flag up. Put the white flag up.
Yeah, let's
got away with that.
Back it in here for a bit. He's had 2 in the session, and he's hit nothing so far. So let's just roll it out of here. We'll have a little half-time break. 20 minutes done. Have a couple oranges, and we'll get back out there for the second half soon. Hard-earned break for Jared Danaher. Oh, the Super 3 guys having a crack, that's for sure.
Not wrong. Matt Payne coming up on the back of our Super 3 Championship leader, Kai Allen. A couple of young guys on track together.
So yeah, we're talking about Kai, who's part of this Eggleston team, moving on up next year. It's going to be in a Team 18 car, so no confirmation yet if it's the Winterbottom or Pie car that he's going to be in next year. But it's a strange anomaly there. So he's out there in the VE right now. Next year he'll go to a ZB, which means he's going to skip an entire generation of supercars. And Brad Vaughan's going to do the same thing because he's going to Tickford, so he's hopping out of an FG and going to a Mustang. Here he is right now, actually, the young South Aussie. So he'll have no time to drive an FGX. So with Super 3 guys graduating to Super 2, they're going to miss a whole generation of car.
The whole Gen 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? But certainly a big step up in equipment for those guys. Moving out of Super 3 into Super 2 when the current generation main game cars make their way down into the Dunlop Series. Front spring change here for Declan Fraser.
This will be the last. Oh, that doesn't look too good.
Wonder what corner of the car that's off. Let's see if we can have a look at the top of the tyre and see if they'll show us. Here we go.
Oh, looks to be at the front of.
It's at the front of
BJR, which means
Ellie Morrow's car. Oh,
yes,
Lockie Dalton.
You're exactly right. It's got Lockie Dalton on board this weekend. Rihanna.
Tyler Everingham, fresh off a pole position last time out at Bathurst. You've had some experience with this circuit. Just give us a sense of what it's like out there.
Yeah, it's fairly different than the last time I was here. The curves through 1 and 2 are a lot more tame. All the bumps have gone into braking zone 4, so it's a little bit different to wrap my head around. I'm just sort of struggling a little bit, trying to chase the car, but yeah, hopefully we'll get there.
Thank you. You have a good look out there.
Thanks.
21 years of age, currently sitting 5th in this championship from Dubbo, New South Wales. Drove with Scott Pye at this year's great race. Tyler, one of the last, actually might have been the very last guy announced. Him and Jackson Evans were the last 2.
He was originally, James Golding was on to drive that car, and James Golding got the call up to Premier Racing in the Subway Commodore, and 2018 needed a replacement, and Tyler Everingham was their man. Matt Charter was on for a very nice lap there early in the lap. The fastest first sector we've seen so far in this session, but quite a bit of traffic late in the session. On board here with Zach Orbas. Big over rotation at turn 11. So you can see that they're laying it on the line at the moment. We thought that maybe Zach Best wanted a bit more rotation from the car in practice one. He's got plenty of rotation now. The rear of the car can't go with it. So still looking to find a balance with this car. Best goes to third with that time, but lost a huge amount of time with the oversteer at turn 11. That should have been a fair bit faster than that.
Matt Payne, can he go to the top? Not quite. Last sector was lacking in a few tenths, 122.2. So backs up his quick lap from a couple laps ago. He's looking right at home. Has the most pole awards for the year. We'll settle that score tomorrow. He's on 3. There's a bunch of drivers on 2. A couple of drivers on 1 pole, so it's still very much open to the 5 drivers in that group. Cameron Crick, just the one Eggleston car entered in Super 2. No Matt McLean, unfortunately, here this weekend. And they did have a car listed as a TBC on the entry list, which sadly they weren't able to fill. Meanwhile, Jay Robotham recently turned 20 since Bathurst.
Oh, big issue stopping that car down at turn 9. Slowest corner on the circuit. Didn't quite get it stopped in time. I actually saw the front splitter look like it was having a bit of a flutter or a vibration just before he got to the brake. Brad Vaughan didn't quite get enough of the curb at 1, ran him wide, and you can just really graphic shot of how much energy goes up through the car when you hit the curb at the wrong angle. At turn 2 there, that's a great shot, isn't it? Yeah. He exited turn 11, jumping right off the racetrack and through your TV monitor.
Well, we know his future is secure on the grid next year. And that will be with Matt Stone Racing. Cameron Hill did a nice job at the Great Race this year. Drove with Chris Pither in the Coca-Cola car. And with Triple Eight stepping out of the Dunlop Series, he'll be happy to know that he's got a gig for next year. Knows where his home will be. There's Matt Charter. Were they like new tyres to you?
Looked like a new tyre going on Matt Charter's car. So that actually bodes well for Matt because he was on a very good lap earlier and that would have been on a used tyre. So coming in to grab another set, have another go.
In a perfect world, you'd wait to the very end of the session before having a green tyre run. But with the high possibility of red flags, we saw that in practice 1, lost the last 2 minutes of the session. Some drivers may elect to go for an earlier run here. Jay Hansen maximising that lap, running it in a straight line. And it's reasonably handsome too. Goes inside the top 5 with a 22.1. So about 3 or 4 tenths off the quickest time set in practice 1 by Declan Fraser. We do pick up young Lockie Dalton. Won the Australian Karting Championship. Was the first ever driver from Tasmania to win a round of the Australian Karting Championship. Stepped on through the ranks, raced in the Toyota 86s, finished top 5 in that what would have been a championship, but, you know, COVID and all that. And has been pretty handy in the Trans Ams. And pretty handy, it would seem, in a Dunlop Series car.
Straight to the top. So wow. I wonder whether we saw those blistered tyres come off his car. So I'd imagine this is the next set for Lockie Dalton, but still, you need to lay the lap down and drive it. I did note that he had the fastest first sector on that lap, and he went on with it nicely.
He did a 23.8 in practice 1. He's done nearly 2 seconds.
Reasonable improvement, isn't it, Chad?
Not bad. All right, Craig, remember that name for the weekend, Lockie Dalton.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And there's no doubt that I actually stuck my head in and spoke quickly to Declan Fraser. He said, yeah, the track evolution from this morning when they first went out to now, they're chasing rear grip, so they put a different front spring in it. He's gone out on his first set of tyres. They've got a second set laid out. Cam Hill's just come in, so you'll start seeing some fast times now because cars are actually passing me now on brand new sets of Dunlop rubber. So it's, yeah, it's almost that sort of go time.
Yeah, it's exactly go time for a few drivers, including Jay Robotham, who's just laid down the quickest time of the weekend to date at 21.3. Tyler Everingham's coming up to speed right now in his Nissan. Here is Cam Hill. Underrated livery, this one. The Supercars Industries 111 car, sitting 4th in the championship. Hasn't qualified higher than 2nd so far, Garth. So,
well, you're tough taskmaster, Chad. I'd be happy with 2nd.
Sorry, I haven't qualified higher than 3rd, I was meant to say.
Okay.
Second row is what I was meant to say.
Row.
Yeah,
okay. Well, 3rd's not bad.
No, very good. He's been very consistent, as a matter of fact. He's not qualified lower than 8th, not qualified higher than 3rd in the 10 qualifying sessions we've had. We'd love to farewell Super 2 by chucking it on the front row this weekend.
Certainly would. Jay Robotham just on the timing screens, our fast man at the moment, is going on with it. Looking like he may improve as quite a few of the field leave pit lane, as Craig said, on a brand new tyre. Matt Charter we caught earlier bolting a tyre on. And now Kai Allen has just gone fastest in the first sector of everyone in a Dunlop Super 3 car.
Well, Hansen's off the road.
That's up at 11.
He's done a little bit of that today, but got away with them, thankfully. That's good news as well for Allen, who hopefully had the yellow flag cleared by the time he got there.
I think he was clear.
Beautiful. I want to see a lap time here.
Yeah, need to get it stopped. Nicely done.
48.1 combined to the second sector. He's been making something of a habit of this throughout the course of 2022, putting his Super 3 car amongst the Super 2 drivers. He goes second outright in his Super 3 car. That's brilliant, as always, from the young South Aussie.
Oh, it's Nash Morris running the high line. Turn 11.
Old man's having a lap this weekend in the GT4 as well, which is pretty cool. There goes Jay. Oh, and the fence too.
The wall. So he's having a tough session, is Jay Hansen.
Fellas down there having a cold drink under the shade. Appreciated that effort.
Probably get some scorecards down there for tomorrow, boys.
Okay, so game on then at the moment. 12 minutes to go. Robotham on top. Hot brakes for the Hislop car. What's the best thing to do here?
That's a bit of an issue. If it's a rear brake, it shouldn't.
You better to send it?
Well, I'm not sure. It depends if it's actually brake or it's oil. We're making a decision here at some point, guys. Yeah, let's get the fire extinguisher. There's Paul Martin there, actually. Category manager.
He's the one telling him to get going.
Get going. Paulie very experienced with these cars, so he's happy to send it.
Oh dear.
Oh, Stephen Page.
The Eggleston car is in the fence, still sitting on the racing line.
There's a lot of fluid down too, so that's at turn 5.
Caution turn 6, caution turn 6. Race control to all teams. Extreme caution at turn 6. We have oil on driver's line at turn 6 through to 7.
Dave Murray, race director.
Oh no, this has happened earlier.
Red flag.
That's at the exit of turn 3.
Matt Charter was right in behind him as they
pit exit is closed.
Came through that part of the track.
Race control to all teams. A reminder, extreme caution through
Stephen
turn
Page now
6, 7.
driven it up the road.
Oil online, centre of track.
So this is now exit of 4, coming up to 5, and this is lots of smoke, and he spun on his own fluid. Just backed it into the fence there at 5. See now, Chad, you made the comment earlier, those that put the new tyre on early because there's often issues at the end of practice. Called it nicely because there's a lot of fluid on the racetrack now, all the way through turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. And with 9 minutes to go in this session, that's going to eat into a lot of time to go. And we don't have a very good form guide from our championship contenders right here, right now, as far as how fast they can go on a new tyre in qualifying trim.
A lot of teams particularly look like the Triple Eight teams are still throwing setups at those cars. Unhappy with the balance before they went for a qualifying sim and decided to throw a new set of tyres on it. Look at Declan Fraser's car in particular. And they've been working feverishly on that car, trying to get it in the zone for where they want it. So with qualifying tomorrow, Armour All qualifying still to come. That's how it looks. It's probably a foregone conclusion in Super 3 who's going to take the pole award there, but definitely still up for grabs in Super 2. Matt Payne has his nose in front. There's 2 to go. So pretty simple math. Any one of those top 5 drivers a chance to take out the season-long pole award. But yeah, Kai Allen, that is a record for 9 in a season. Very, very impressive as he pulls his car back into pit lane, as does Nash Morris. We'll go down to the lane 2 with Craig.
Yeah, guys, I'm down here with Matt Charter. Just talk us through what happened down here at the first chicane.
Yeah, obviously it's hard with the way this pit exit is. You just come up onto, obviously when you're on a green tyre lap, you come up to them so fast. You know, obviously the lap's already gone. I was just rolling along on the way out of the corner, and he sort of braked and tried to move out of the way. I think he's braked a bit before he's moved, which, anyway, I'll just roll along, probably quarter throttle, but anyway.
How's the circuit? A lot of drivers complaining it's evolved into a sort of almost a greasy track now.
Yeah, I was finding it pretty good then, especially compared to the first session. I think it got a lot better. I think it's only going to get even better again. We're going to be a fair bit quicker come quali time, I reckon.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Declan Fraser, the man that they all hunting down this weekend to take that championship victory. You've never been to the streets of Adelaide before in any type of race car. What's it like out there?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I absolutely love this track. The new resurfacing looks a lot different to what we had, or what they had on all footage and stuff previously. But to finally get out here and drive myself is a pretty cool feeling, and we're in the hunt for a championship. So just keeping our nose clean, and we've been going pretty well so far.
There's a lot to sort of unfold as the weekend. You're focusing on the championship, focusing on trying to win, but also just trying to learn the track. What's been the focus for this session?
This session, we were just interested to see what the evolution of the track was going to be like. It actually changed a little bit different to what we thought. So we've had to go left of field to what we were hoping for. And yeah, we've made some really good gains, and we were sitting at the top on the old tyre, and then everyone went to the new tyre. So hopefully the session resumes and we can put a new tyre on it, but there's a heap of oil over the track, and yeah, we'll just see what happens.
You've got 75 points currently at the top of the championship. How are you feeling at the start of the weekend?
Everyone's been asking me the same question, but I think my mentality doesn't change. I'm here to do the best job for the team, but also for myself and all my supporters and sponsors. And there's obviously a championship to think about, but at the same time, my mentality is the same as when I was at Townsville, when I was at Sandown, Bathurst, everywhere. So I'm just here enjoying the moment, having a lot of fun, taking it all in, and hopefully by the end of the weekend we come back with those orange numbers still on the car.
Thanks, Declan. Wish you all the best.
Awesome. Thank you.
Spoken very well, Declan Fraser, given the enormity of the moment that he's staring down the barrel this weekend. So our hard-working officials, big thank you to all of them. Out there sweating it out in these conditions to try and get the racetrack back into good nick. Hopefully we'll get another run here towards the end of the session. We do have Repco Supercars Championship Practice 1 not too far away. Quickly look through Declan Fraser's season to date. It's been so impressive. Just the round results alone, 5th, 4th, 1st, 3rd, 5th. Has not been lower than the top 5 at every single event. There he is, the 22-year-old from Mackay. Has been inside the top 10 in all 9 races, the only driver in the field who can say that. Only little chink in the armour has been qualifying. 2 poles, that's been pretty good. But just 1 outside the top 10 in Sydney when the 888 cars were just wanting for a little bit of speed. Yeah, g'day Decker. Doing a very nice job. A gain of 10 positions across the course of the year from where he's qualified and where he's finished. 9 out of 9 top 10s though. That is exactly why, and 0 DNFs is exactly why he's leading this championship. As we check out a replay. We heard what Matt Charter said, just was on a green tyre on a fast lap. I think he said Stephen was coming out of the pits.
I think I got that was what my take from it was as well, that Stephen Page was leaving pit lane and potentially trying to get out of the way. And then as the Page brothers RV, Commodore was on its way back to pit lane, you can see quite a bit of fluid coming out of the front of that car from the heavy damage into the wall, and just spun on his own fluid. So probably best to park the car, not do any further damage to either the engine or the car, or put any more fluid around the circuit. So that's what we find ourselves under red flag right now, with the clock still ticking and 5 minutes to go. So we heard from Declan Fraser saying that they hope they can get going again here so they can do a new tyre run. And I would imagine that Matt Payne is in very much the same boat. Let's hear from Craig.
Yeah, I'm down here with Cam Hill. You're sitting in position 8th at the moment. I just did notice that you went out on a brand new tyre just before that red flag came out. So you're sitting here now with almost like a roaded tyre. How's the car feeling?
Car feels okay. We're just tuning it, you know. Obviously the resurface has probably changed the characteristic a little bit of the track. So every change we made was heading in the right direction. So, so far so good.
I also noticed you made a rear suspension adjustment just before you put the new tyres on. Are you still chasing rear tyre?
Yeah, the front of the car is quite strong at the moment, so it's just about finding that balance. Obviously, we don't want to go too far and make the car understeer, so I'm just trying to find that sweet spot.
And on a new tyre, how much you reckon you're going to gain?
Oh, I reckon 3 seconds, 4 seconds.
Good luck, thanks.
Cheers.
Tom Randall, pay attention, we're on TV. See that? That's us, that's what's happening right now. Last time Dunlop Super 2 were here, you were in this category and you won a race, race 3, and it was a pretty epic battle between yourself, Brody Kostecki and Will Brown. What do you remember from back then?
Yeah, we had a good battle there. Yeah, got pole by, I think it was like 2,000ths of a second, so it was super close between Brody and I, and yeah, he got 2 wins, I got 1, so it was pretty close, but no, it was awesome memories from back then, and it's just, I mean, I'm sure everyone's been saying it, but it's so great to have the race back, and the amount of work that the Premier's done and everyone has done to get this thing in the state that it is in 9 months is pretty incredible.
Absolutely, definitely concur with those words. Zach Best, your man, he's vying for the championship this week, and what kind of words of wisdom have you been giving him?
I don't know if they've been very good. No, I mean, yeah, he's doing well. I mean, it's only practice, and I think there's probably going to be a bit of oil down now, so not sure how much they're going to gain when they go back out. But yeah, I think he was fast. Well, he was fast in practice 1, and I think he's just had a bit of traffic so far in practice 2. But yeah, he's got a shot at the title, so he'll be going swinging come tomorrow, first race, and then qualifying, and then the race on the weekend. So it's all to play for.
What's going to happen in Supercars this weekend?
I don't know. I think the championship's already wrapped up, so I'm definitely no threat there, unfortunately. We'll see how we go. I'd love to get in the shootout again. And, I mean, if we can back-to-back the shootouts and some top 10 finishes would be nice. Anything up from that would really be a bonus to finish the year.
Thanks, Tom. I'll let you get ready. You're about to get out there.
Thanks.
Yeah, Tom Randall put it on the pole here back in 2020. There's his team, Rod Nash, just giving Cam Waters and James Courtney a bit of friendly advice this weekend as what he wants to see from his Chargers out there. And looking forward to seeing exactly how these Tickford Mustangs will be farewelled here this weekend. So Dave Murray's called an end to the session. Jay Robotham will be the man on top in his Rare Spares Image Racing Commodore. And very hard to get a read on where we're at because we have a Super 3 car sitting second outright. Although he's very, very fast, Kai Allen. Matt Payne will be second in class and third outright. Matt Charter got something of a lap in earlier, but really, Garth, no one outside of the top 2 or 3 guys got the green tyre run in. No. So your guess is as good as mine, mate.
Looking forward to qualifying tomorrow for the Dunlop Series because, as you said, Chad, we don't have any idea what the form guide is going into that one, given that no one really, only a couple of cars got a new tyre run at the end of that one. So shame that we couldn't have a bit of a shootout in that one, but really looking forward to qualifying in the morning for the Dunlop Series.
All right, so Repco Supercars practice is imminent and the drivers will be gearing up. And one thing I'm looking forward to this weekend is a chance to shine the spotlight on some of the contenders from season 2022. And first up is driver of the Car 6 Monster Mustang,
Been a very solid season once again for Cameron Waters. 9 pole positions, 3 wins, 14 podiums before he heads out on track for the first practice session. We thought we'd jump in for a bit of a season review. Sitting second in the championship. How are you feeling about the way the year has unfolded?
I'm happy. I'm not ecstatic. I would have liked to win.
By that,
I would have liked to win a few more races and be a bit closer to Shane, but I think from where we went from last year to this year, definitely a step forward. And as long as we keep taking steps forward as a team, that's means I'm happy. And we got some race wins. We got a heap of poles, so that's great. Hopefully, we can get another 1 or 2 this weekend and lock that away. Yeah, it's an okay year, 70% year.
What's been the highlight? Best drive. What's been your best drive?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Probably my Darwin one.
Yep.
One of my race wins. I think probably the Perth one as well when. And I got the wind taken off me with Will. I thought I drove pretty good that race, but obviously got the wind taken off me. Yeah, there's good moments in the year for different reasons.
What do you think have been the biggest challenges this season? I mean, I guess we've been asking all year, what does it take to beat Shane Van Gisbergen? For you, how have you enjoyed that fight? But what's been the biggest challenge in it?
Well, obviously the race pace hasn't been an issue. The qual pace hasn't been an issue this year, but the race pace has. So that's where Shane's had a bit over the whole field, and us at points we've kind of been able to match him, but not consistently across the whole year. So that's been the biggest challenge. We've been throwing stuff at it. Sometimes we'll take a couple of steps backwards, but you do that, you learn, and I think we've learned a lot this year about the car, setting it up, how we work together as a team. So a lot of stuff we can take into next year, and hopefully we can be a little bit closer to him.
So when you're with him and you're battling, is there one area of the car that you report back all the time to say, look, he just comes off the corner better than me, or he can break the car a bit better than me. Is there an element of the whole package where you go, we're away from the game and we're not quite with Van Gisbergen in that area?
Yeah, just braking. 100%. There's one area where they have it over us, and it's braking. In quali, when you got a tyre, you can brake at that point, and we can get it out of it for a lap. But yeah, across the race distance, that degrades for us, and they can just keep hitting those marks lap after lap. So we know what we need to fix. We just haven't really been able to fix it, and keep the balance of the car the same at the same time.
You mentioned it, your qualifying prowess has been sensational this year. 9 pole positions with 2 more on offer. In fact, you tied with Will Davison on 9 poles. What would it mean to you to take out that mantle of best qualifier for a season, and how do you think that's improved your game in terms of the level of competition you've been able to bring each and every race?
Yeah, I've been qualifying pretty well the last few years, so I can't win anything else this weekend really. Obviously I can win the 2 races, but really would like to win that pole award for the year. So it's something that we're going to try and focus on this weekend, get some poles, and I think being resurfaced here, I think it's going to be a lot different to other years and different street tracks now. So usually our car goes good on high grip circuits, so touch wood, it's good.
I was about to say, are you thinking that it's high grip? Is that what you reckon the new surface is like?
Oh, I think so. Now you're making me question myself.
I don't know, but I'm thinking that was where you were going. And the second part of the question is, it doesn't seem, based on the resurfacing and some of the curb heights in the critical areas like turn 2 and turn 4, that it's going to be as important to ride the curb as nicely as it was over the years.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, you come here previous years, and the big thing is getting over the curbs. But they've laid the track on top of the old track and made all the curbs a little bit smaller. So I think it'll be less important. I think they've gotten rid of a few of the bumps as well. So I think your setup direction will be a little bit different to what you'd take to Gold Coast or Townsville. So yeah, I'm excited to get out there. It might be a little bit greasy initially, because it's still pretty fresh and rubber's still going down. But I think as the weekend goes on, it'll get more and more hooked up.
So that flow we're just showing you there, turn 1 to turn 2, that curb on the right-hand side through turn 2 is effectively 50 mils shallower than it used to be because the surface has gone over the top. So we always used to fly the car there, and it's always been a curb strike issue. But to flow the car through there is so important because it creates a pass at turn 4 at Wakefield Street, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. If you can get out of 1-2 well and get a good flow up to 3-4, you can lunge someone into 4. But because the curbs are smaller now, I think we're going to go on faster through there at the same time. So hopefully it doesn't make the corner too fast that you can't actually get that advantage into 4 like you'd previously see. But time will tell.
What's on your list of priorities in this first practice session today?
Just keep it straight, drive around, learn the curves and all those things. And we've got a bit of an idea what the DVS car had, balance-wise. So got a few things in the back of our heads, which is what the car might do. We've got a toolbox ready to go to tackle it.
We've been blessed with sunshine, haven't we, the last couple of events? Check out the weather.
It's not raining for a change.
I know. I think we're due some sunny weather. I mean, after the Gold Coast, it was spectacular, but boy, was it hot up there. And guess what? It's going to get hotter as the weekend progresses. What factor do you think the heat's going to be this weekend?
I think every day it gets closer, it goes up a degree. So, by Sunday it's going to be pretty hot, I think. And 250k around here is pretty full on. So, the key will be being hydrated and bouncing back for Sunday and making sure you're fresh and ready to go.
Now, you always talk about my OCD, Jessica.
Yes.
When we walked into the garage, Cam was walking around the car and complaining that all the levels of matte black were different at the previous race meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how's that worked out for you?
It's been really good. The guys were actually getting up me that was all the same shades of black. So it wasn't 50 shades of black anymore. It's the one shade, and it's looking awesome. So big thank you to my crew and team for sorting that out for me.
You don't think they did that to you on purpose, just to torture you? We do that to Mark all the time in the media team.
Sometimes they do just to wind me up. But I didn't go too well at Gold Coast, so maybe they thought they should get it the one colour.
Yeah.
Well done.
So what's it going to take to win this weekend and to spoil the party for Holden? Of course, that's one of the big themes as we say farewell to the Commodore and to Holden for the very last time in Supercars.
Yeah, obviously it's a massive weekend for them. Sending off Holden, the brand, and the Commodore. But for us, it's race pace, same as what we had at Gold Coast. And the story of the year for us, if we've got that, then it's going to be a cool battle. I think Shane's going to be fast, no doubt. But it'll be a little bit of a different weekend with the resurfacing and the curb height and all those things. So hopefully it's spicy up the front and we can put on some good racing for everyone.
Did you see his headline this morning? in the advertiser here, it was, I want to rain on Holden's parade. How was that?
Yeah, why not?
It's a killjoy, complete
Not
killjoy.
at
Did it
all.
upset you, Scapey?
It would upset me.
Yeah.
That's what we
It
loved
worked
about
then.
it, didn't it? The Holden versus Ford rivalry for the very last time will be in action this weekend. We can't wait. Congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
Good luck for what's to play out this weekend. All right, we're getting set to get practice one for Supercars underway, but first let's say a very good afternoon to Larko, who's in the Hino Hub. Hey, Larko.
Hey Jess, good afternoon everyone. I've got to say, you know me, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Ford guy, but I, hand on heart, I'm for Holden this weekend. I really hope they win, I really do. Just on that, how cool are these liveries WA you have rocked up with this weekend? But I couldn't help myself, I was just having a little bit of a play with my text here. Morris, the sponsor on the front here, they need to talk to the guys. They've got a couple of days to do it, Imagine if they just did that. Now we've actually got 1990 HRT cars. Scafie will agree with me on that one. Anyway, I diverge for a sec. Let's have a look. Adelaide 500. Now, we've often said Bathurst is the greatest track on earth. But for many, many years, I know I've said, and a lot of us have, that Adelaide's always been the great event. Does my nut in how it ever left here, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. Where is it? Well, you can see there, 3.2 Ks of circuit right on the fringe of the city. And that's why it is such a cool event, because it consumes the city. In fact, that's the CBD right there. This is the greater sort of area of Adelaide. This beautiful parkland all around. You can see it's a beautiful, beautiful city. You've got the mall, Rundle Mall there. What is it, Hindley Street in there where all the partying happens. In fact, while I've got my texter on, it's interesting to note looking at the circuit. Remember the old Formula One circuit? So it used to go around there, along there, and like that. That was the Formula One circuit. Anyway, so always a great event. So it's great to be back here. So let's actually have a look at the circuit proper. Why do drivers love it, apart from the event itself? What we really love about this event, our cars are like 1.5 tons with fuel on board, right? Anywhere that you can stop our cars, make them accelerate fast and then stop them again is great for overtaking, great for racing. And when you look at this particular circuit, you come through the chicane here at turn 1, the variability of speed of cars coming out of that chicane makes a great overtaking opportunity at turn 4. Then you've got crisscross opportunity, whoop, come back there. I'll drag that back again. Sorry, it's a bit sensitive today. So another great overtaking opportunity there. Then we go up to turn 8. Because of the huge variability of speed through there, great overtaking opportunity there. And then finally down into 12 and 13, because you're turning as you brake here, that creates another great overtaking opportunity, 13. So it's full of overtaking opportunities. But I want to focus in on turn 8. Now, this corner in particular, when we have a look at the vision, you're doing 245 as you come down here. The slowest you go through this corner is 215 Ks an hour. Now, I want to just pull this up here. I'm going to go back a couple of frames. This is an impossibly difficult corner. It's why we have so much drama here. So this is Jamie Whincup we're going in here with. Now, where you turn in, where you commit is where this circuit's all about. You've got to be obviously hard on the wall. And somewhere around here, or maybe a little bit before that, so you're going to commit to turning into the corner. If you turn in a little earlier, you're in the fence. If you turn in a little later, you're in the fence. If someone decides to stick their nose up at the inside here, it cannot happen. There is simply, and I've got to draw it like a funnel, I reckon, there is simply one line that funnels into and around that corner. And if you're not on those tram tracks, or if someone pushes you or moves you off that line, you're going to be in the fence. And let me just show you some examples when we look at some of the crashes. It's not because people make huge blunders. They just go a fraction offline, go off the tram tracks a little bit, maybe miss the turning point, maybe touch the curb on the inside. But the consequences are always dire. There is no easy way around this. So drivers, we love that challenge. It's a great challenge. 6th gear, you don't even go down a gear. Little tap on the brake, turn in. It's about commitment, and it's a great corner in that regard. Okay, so let's move on. One final thing I'll just point out to you is on the track proper is the resurfacing. Now, it starts around there. So now all of this bit, all of that is resurfaced. Now, when we look at track records, hang on, I'll turn the texter off. Look at these, write them down. Qualifying record is that. So what is it going to get beaten by? Not really sure. But the actual record at any racetrack can only be set in the race. So 120.3, my instinct tells me it's going to be smashed this weekend.
I think you're right, Larko. We'll be taking some bets on that through the course of the weekend, and the man that holds that record, Mark Skaife, is Scott McLaughlin, who's here with us this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see if that record is broken and by whom. We can see everyone hopping in their cars, getting ready to head out for the first practice session. We asked Cam Waters what was on his list of priorities if it was you heading out there today, given all the changes that we've had, car evolution over the last couple of years, being back here on what is a pretty hot day here in Adelaide. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for car balance. I'm looking for the car to be fast enough without it trying to bite you. So this is a place, and we've just gone through there, and Larko did a great job of explaining the risk and the commitment at, say, turn 8. But if you, in the end, have a car that's too pointy, that's too oversteer on the way to the corner, it will bite you at this venue. So what you've got to do is you've got to be right on the edge of that. The whole art of going fast at a place like this is to have the car almost slightly too oversteery, slightly too agile and responsive at the front, but not having it such that every time you turn it at the corner, you think you're going to fire in the fence. And if it's like that, there's no way you can do 78 laps on Saturday and Sunday. Second thing is it'll catch you in qualifying. So new tyres tend to mask it a little bit. So when you've got a car that's very pointy and difficult to drive like that, a fresh tyre probably masks that for 1 or 2 laps. But what you'll be trying to do now is go out and get a serious car balance that doesn't give you white knuckles every lap. That's the way.
I imagine it doesn't matter what sort of car you've got, though. You've always got the white knuckles through turn 8. Tell us your ethos on how you approach it and get through there cleanly, lap after lap.
Well, at the level of commitment, we just love the corner. And as Larko explained, 245k approach, the whole art of that corner is not to take too much pace off it. So I know that sounds completely mad, but if you park yourself right against the fence as you see that truck coming up the left-hand side, where you arrive from, what you're trying to do is brake it and minimise the retardation of the car and minimise the pitch of the car and end up with the right-hand front wheel on that curb. And the reality around that is you do it with the least amount of braking and the smallest amount of steering. If you do that, the car flows through there nicely and you don't end up in that fence on the left-hand side because that fence, it bites hard.
It sure does. And there's one thing for sure, this weekend, there will be action at turn 8.
100%.
We'll have you covered on Fox Sports for it, don't you worry. Well, we have been counting down to this moment since it was announced in June that the Adelaide 500 is back. It's time for Supercars to head out for practice 1. So let's say very good afternoon to Neil Crompton in commentary. Crompo, isn't it great to be back on the streets of Adelaide?
What an absolute thrill to be back here, Jess. We wondered out loud whether or not we would ever come back and return with racing high-quality motorsport to the streets of Adelaide. We are back, as you've suggested. Since 1985, what a venue. Formula One first came here in Supercars from 1999, and then we disappeared sadly off the back of 2020, COVID, and then the event was discontinued, and we're back now in 2022. And what a way to wind up the Repco Supercars Championship, Jess. Event number 13 in the sequence. And the BP Ultimate pit lane's now open. 45 degrees. The cars roll out from that position and out they go. 25 degrees. There's almost no breeze out there at the moment. And play Spot the Cloud, because I can't see one from the commentary box at the moment. Look at that shot in the background. It is absolutely gorgeous here. And the conditions are expected to get better and better as the weekend unfolds. In fact, on Sunday, they're talking about temperatures in the mid-30s. It is going to be hot, heavy, hard work out there for our 25 supercar drivers. Now, this racetrack location, part of the popularity of the event is the location of the Adelaide Parkland circuit. You can see where it is in relation to the water, the CBD, and more importantly, within that Parkland precinct, you're right next to the cafes, the restaurants, the retail, and so many other things here, and it's such a family favourite. And here is the reason why. 3.2 kilometres around here, 14 turns. We'll break down the location into 3 parts for the purpose of practice racing and qualifying to understand the microsector behaviour and performance of the drivers and the cars. It's got a bit of everything. Some high speed, big premium on brake performance down there in turn 9. And as has already been discussed, bravery and commitment and balance in turn number 8. Lots been going on since we last raced at the Gold Coast. A lot of cars have been repaired. There's all the usual soap opera in and around the Repco Supercars Championship. Let's get in amongst it in the pit lane and say very good afternoon to Ree.
Yeah, thanks, Crompo. How could you forget that massive incident last time out at the Gold Coast? Red flag for race 32. Unfortunately, James Golding in the subway entry, clipping those tyre bundles and chaos unfolding. Now, that car was too badly damaged to get it repaired in time for this weekend, given a lot of focus is, of course, on Gen 3 for next year. So he has jumped in to the car that was used as the wildcard car at Bathurst that Craig Lowndes and Declan Fraser drove. So he'll be on that this weekend. Now, he also injured himself in that incident, had scans on his wrist, no broken bones, but I just spoke to him and it is still a little bit tender, so hopefully he can get through this weekend unscathed.
And he's not the only James to go for a new car this weekend. We've got James Courtney in the Snowy River Caravans entry, and that's a different Mustang to the one that he campaigned at the Gold Coast. He was caught up in that incident at the beach chicane, but it wasn't that incident that made the change of chassis. They wanted to get back to the chassis that James was running at the beginning of the season, so they've gone back to the car that was in that lap 5 incident at Bathurst. Big year for Tickford in repairing crash damage. James Courtney's gone back to a familiar car for this weekend, and hopefully, fingers crossed for Tickford, they get through both the races and 500Ks without any more crashes this weekend in Adelaide.
Some news that came out Sunday night after the Gold Coast was the result of Anton Di Pasquale. He was actually disqualified from the Sunday race on the streets of the Gold Coast. The left rear tyre was under the minimum 17 pounds per square inch tyre pressure rule at some stage through the race. It was early in the race. So remember, Anton took 3 stops. He tried to get the alternate strategy late in the race with a late safety car to vault him up to the grid. He actually crossed the line 11th, disqualified from the race. So look for Anton Di Pasquale to fight back this weekend and have a strong end to this year's championship.
Appreciate the update, Ree, Chad and Garth. Cars are out there and there's no mucking about. There's a limited amount of time with 30 minutes of practice 1 today available. And that's symbolic and significant because this weekend is also the final official outing in the Supercars Championship of the nameplate Holden, having been so successful over so many years. And so it's a big story this weekend. We're going to say farewell. And their key teams are doing it in style. So the Red Bull Ampol Racing team are doing it with new livery this weekend for Brock Feeney and also for Shane Van Gisbergen, who's carrying number 1 on the car. We're accustomed to seeing him race forever with the number 97. Not the case this weekend. And Walkinshaw Andretti United have gone back to the old HRT livery from the late 80s, early 90s with their cars as well. And we'll see Chaz Mostert and Nick Percat later in this broadcast coverage. So, first up, Chaz Mostert's gone quicker than anyone else with a 1:22.3. Jack Smith locks the rears into the braking area down at turn number 9. And I just described a little earlier how important it is to have brake performance and balance down there. Mark Scaife joins me back in the commentary box. Mark, it seems like a long time ago, but I had to cast my mind back midweek to think about the number of people that were involved in Carmageddon at the Gold Coast. Because there was Golding, Randall, Jones, Courtney, Feeney, Percat, Slade, LeBrock, Winterbottom, Di Pasquale, Holdsworth, Smith and Kostecki. It was easy to nominate those who weren't involved in the shunt.
Exactly right. Good afternoon, Neil. It was a massive one, and it started from position 8th and ended up pretty much including the rest of the field. And I'm so glad that, as the guys have reported, that the cars have been repaired. We've got those people back on the grid again. Those teams have worked hard in between time, and even to the point of changing livery for 2 of the leading Holden teams as a tribute for Holden this weekend.
Where I was going with that was the extraordinary work and work ethic of our race teams. The men and women in these race teams give their bone marrow to make these things beautiful. And I went up and down the pit lane earlier in the day. They're all sparkling. And remember that in the background, there's a new generation car being built for 2023. Andre Heimgartner runs wide down here at turn 1. This is going to be popular this weekend. Now, Mark, you've been involved in the architectural changes around this racetrack since we last raced here in early 2020. Walk us through some of the things that are different visit on visit.
So the resurfacing effectively in the zones from the breaking point of turn 9 right back to coming onto the straight coming out of turn 7. So probably 70 to 75% of the racetrack's been resurfaced. What's happened is when the resurfacing has been applied, we've lifted the bitumen level up, and in some areas, not all areas, because the turn 9 curb, have a look at this one right there, perfectly on shot there at the thrifty hairpin. That curve is very, very high and aggressive. Some of the other curbs at turn 2 and turn 4 are effectively lower by about 50 mil. So there's a few reprofiling in terms of the surface orientation. There's some things like that curb there, which is going to have an effect of being easier to run over, and secondly, it won't upset the car off the back of it as much as it did in the course of history, and we've seen some big moments through the course of the event here. So that you can see already is not having the same effect. It hasn't got the same level of deflection, nor does it upset the car quite as much. So that'll make that faster. It'll also be faster at turn 4. Reprofiling of this corner, the final corner, is also going to make a difference for overtaking.
While Mark was just finishing that description, we saw Chaz Mostert jump back up to the top. Scott Pye grabbed him, and in fact, he's done it again. So new livery on that car this weekend, supported by Toyota forklifts for the Team 18 entry. And both Scott and Mark Winterbottom, his teammate, just in front of him at the moment. We're here at the end of last week, Friday, in fact, for one of their sponsors in Hino. And so they were very much looking forward to it. And Scott is one of the Adelaide drivers in the field. Tim Slade's also from Adelaide, Nick Percat's from Adelaide. So there'll be an extra incentive this weekend with new backing on the car and plenty of friends and family hanging about. We jump on now with Chaz. Mark Winterbottom, meantime, has also started out quickly. He's just got a curb strike. So that's the livery that I spoke about before from the late 80s, early 90s for the Holden Racing team, and a tribute from the Walkinshaw Andretti United team that for 27 years carried the Holden Racing team colours and flag. And Chaz looks like he's off to a good start here. On the first split of this lap in Sector 1, he's gone quicker than anybody else. James Courtney jumps up now a spot. Mostert, personal best in Sectors 2 and 3, and that's Adam De Bore, his engineer. So it's 4/100ths of a second between Pye and Mostert.
Beautiful shot here in replay at turn 9. You can just see those wavy little bumps, which I'm glad that we haven't fixed, because street circuits should have bumps. And that's the curb that I said is very, very aggressive. So you won't want to bump that, especially in first or second gear. Another of the retro liveries on cue for Van Gisbergen. I like the idea of him using car number 1 this weekend. Not that he needs to intimidate the field or play gamesmanship any more than he already does, because in car 97 he plays that game pretty well, but it's always a powerful thing when you drag the car out of the truck and it's got number 1 on it.
What a year it's been. 21 victories to his credit. He's knocked off Scott McLaughlin, who's part of the broadcast team this weekend for the most number of wins in a season. And anybody that participates in professional sport, or anybody that participates in motorsport, knows how hard it is to create that momentum, to generate that many victories in a season so far where we've had 32 outings. So the ratio of success there is extraordinary. Will Davison moves it up into position number 4 now on a 20.7. So the spread, as always, across the top few is tiny. The practice record here, and remember, there, as Mark described a moment ago, surface changes and a little variation in the curbing, and there's also year-on-year differences with the cars. But our practice record is a low 19. That was done by Mostert in 2020, did a 19.2. Qualifying record, Van Gisbergen did a 19.2 in 2017, and Chaz has got the lap record in 2019. He did a 20.3. So indications are that on what I would still describe as a dirty track, that will rubber in, and they'll get some fresh tyres and get going as the weekend unfolds, and they'll trim and tune their cars. They will have temperature working against them, though, as the weekend unfolds, but I think we're going to see some pretty speedy and impressive performances.
We're already seeing there's 5 different teams in the top 5, and they're separated by 0.2 of a second. So straight away, when cars roll out at a essentially new venue, new surface, different character type, for everybody to be that close bodes well for a ripping weekend of racing.
Van Gisbergen here through turns 1, 2. He's done a 20.6. He's 3/100ths slower than Scott Pye. He and Scott Pye are going to hang out together in New Zealand over the summer, and they're going to roll around the countryside and spend a bit of relaxing time. We also had a shot up a few moments ago of Lee Holdsworth in the garage, and he had Justin Burns looking under the hood of that car as well, just to see what the issue is. And there he is. So they'll be checking for leaks in something. How's that for a vague description?
Yeah, that was good. Go back to Croppo's garage.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Cropton, I've got a leak.
Yeah, in something.
Yeah. Is it oil? Is it water?
Could be.
Is it gas?
Possibly. And here's your invoice. Chad.
It was oil. I can smell it. It's burning down here. I asked Dave Couchy what it is, and they're still trying to figure it out at the moment. There was fire extinguishers on hold down here. I remember at Sandown this car came in with a very similar issue, so I'm wondering if it's a repeat of that.
Yeah,
could be.
Could be. That's as accurate as we get, Chad.
I'm not going to diagnose it from the commentary box. So that's no good. He doesn't need to give too much time away. A significant weekend for Lee because it's the end of his full-time career. in supercar competition, and an illustrious one at that, having cleaned up at Bathurst last year. Thomas Randall getting some air down there over the chicane. Meantime, Shane's actually just moved the marker substantially. 20.2, the best number for him as we pick up on Nick Percat, the NTI entry. So he's got a little over a third of a second now over Scott Pye, and further consolidating what we've seen so much of during the years. So Van Gisbergen with 21 victories and 7 Armour All pole positions, and impressively, he's our champ-elect, and he's got a 660-point margin. So he can pretty much do what he wants to this weekend, but I'm sure that there'll be a very high degree of incentive for him and for the team as the official GM team and the homologation team for the new incoming car to try and do what they'll believe to be the right thing for their backers on the way out.
Tim Slade's done a nice job now. He's up to 5th with a 20.8.
Another Adelaide boy that was also here at the end of last week doing some promo work. He's on the move at the end of this championship season. He's also looking to do some more GT running in 2023. He's been doing a little bit of that Asian GT stuff here and there, but COVID got in the way of some of that. But there's several drivers that are on the move at the end of the season, and one of the things that I find interesting about the last, there's a big long list of lasts for this weekend, is that extra incentive that comes when you get to the back end of the year, and it no longer matters from a championship standpoint, but there's pride at stake. So don't for a moment think at home that there's going to be relaxed racing this weekend, because a lot of people are going to prove points in varying ways for varying reasons. It'll be on. Garth?
Just noted the first runs were all complete, and as all the teams came to pit lane, every car that I can see from various different teams all went to the rear of the car to start working on them. Brody Kostecki from Erebus, they're doing a rear spring. Chaz Mossett, they did a rear spring on his car at Walkinshaw, but Nick Percat, they did rear geometry. All 4 of the Tickford cars did something different. There was cambered, rear geometry and spring, and now going on in the Shell V-Power garage, we've got Will Davison doing a rear spring change, and Anton Di Pasquale doing a rear geometry change. So talk about the changes that they needed to do to adapt to this rear surface. All the teams are going about it in a different way.
Hey, GT, just before you finish up, thanks for the update. Did Shane stay on those tyres? He's done 8 laps. Was that his 8th lap when he's done the fastest lap?
Well, that's the first time he's come to the lane, so they'll be on the same tyre. And what I did note before he left pit lane at the start of the session, that was a green set of tyres, a brand new set of tyres as well. So they were obviously set for a longer run to start with rather than the peak performance and set the pressure a little bit higher.
Right, yeah, so that's really impressive. I mean, to keep on going and get to that 20.2 on a tyre across that, even though it was a green tyre, is a very good run.
Yeah, I'm looking at the car right now. The tyres actually haven't even come off the car yet. So they're just taking tyre temperatures and tyre pressures right now and trying to get a real understanding of how that tyre has performed over that run.
Garth, what's your sense? Are they chasing turn, or are they trying to settle the back of these cars down?
Well, I was watching the Dunlop series earlier today, and all the cars in the first session, they were all complaining about understeer. Then when the sun came out for practice too, they all looked like they had over-rotation, too much steer, not enough rear grip. And the fact that everyone to a team effectively has gone to the rear of the car for their first change would suggest to me that they don't have the rear grip that they need right now.
Thanks for the update. We're riding here with Cam Waters out of turn 7. He's been to the UK since we last saw him and done a little bit of additional driver training. He used to do some with Rob Wilson years ago, but COVID interrupted that as well as something as a refresher. Turn 8 just fans the throttle and stays well committed. It is an awesome corner. But there are consequences when you get it wrong. Oh, he's overshot down here big time. Couldn't get it stopped. In the process of that, he's just released the brake pedal slightly to just protect those tyres and run long. It's the whole point of practice. But he feels that he really gets some value out of it. He went to Donington.
Call
he
Sue
also
on when you can, too, mate. Call Sue on when you can.
went to Goodwood, Mark. And it's just a refresher to think about technique, to remind yourself of the values and the things that matter when you're in the cockpit of the car, and to try and find continued ways to farm those extra hundreds, sometimes tenths that are required. And we're really into a very deep level of mind management now, such is the competitive nature of the category.
Well, and it's not just that either. If you think about every other sporting discipline, everybody's got a coach. So whether you're a golfer, or a tennis player, a rugby league player, AFL player, doesn't matter what it is, swimmer, every other sporting discipline has a dedicated coach. And what the guys have done, there's so much of this happens because our testing regime is so policed and so regulated, it's really difficult when you're in the middle of a season to think, oh, you know, I reckon I could get a little bit better than that. Might be that I actually want to implement left foot braking, for instance. Okay, I need to go and do it because I know I can make a gain. And there's the big lockup down there.
Actually, it was
as
worse.
you said, it was worse than we thought.
Yeah, I think I covered for him a little bit there. He was sending smoke signals to the crowd. It was spelling S-T-O-P.
Yeah, and there's those bumps at the resurfaced joint are actually quite pronounced, and you could see the car was quite unsettled, and as soon as he put his foot on the brake, that surface change in the braking area is going to be a real test this weekend.
If you notice, when you pay attention to the exit of turn 7, and you've been avidly watching Supercars over the years, the exit there always had a big pile of runoff, which then opened up question marks about track limits. It's a popular theme in international motorsport at the moment. It's been fixed this year with a concrete block.
Yeah.
You won't have any problem with track limits on the exit at turn 7 anymore. If you do have a problem with it, it's because you've got a fair amount of concrete rash.
Exactly. And it does look better. I mean, I think we often talk about, you know, what do we do to control track limits? If you put a fence there, it does fix it.
Sorts it out. On board with Thomas Randall in the braking area. Turn 4. That's a lot smoother than it once was. This got a fair coating of oil only a few minutes ago in the Dunlop Super 2 second practice session, but it looks like it's cleaned up pretty nicely now. It's about trying to flow the car through here. It's all in second gear through East Terrace and trying to maximise the radius of the corner to be able to keep your pace up. And we've seen some awesome images through that first chicane over the years. Let's get back into the lane now with Chad.
Yeah, Lee Holdsworth's finally on his way back out on track, and they did lose, obviously, quite a big chunk of time, 11 minutes and 15 seconds to be exact. I got a quick word with Grant McPherson, who's the new technical director down here. Remember, he's recently joined the team. They're telling me that it was only breathing heavy, but 11 minutes trying to fix an oil leak that was breathing heavy. In his words, they're just trying to make sure it wasn't going to do anything worse than that. So there was a lot of concern looks. They believe they fixed it and it's back out on track. But 11 minutes?
It's a long time to sacrifice in a 30-minute session. Thanks for the update, Chad. We'll keep an eye on. Lee's joined us again up in the braking area here at turn 4. He's just staying out of Nick Percat's way. We've got 11 minutes remaining in the session. The order at the moment, Van Gisbergen, Pye, Mostert, that's 1 to 3. Then Andre Heimgartner. Brody Kostecki's just jumped up into 5th. Then Courtney, Davison, Slade, Fullwood and Waters. Thomas Randall's just outside the top 10 at the moment.
Whoa!
Will Davison getting wildly out of shape there into the final corner through 13 and 14. 13's just one of those unusual corners that begs for you to attack it harder, and if you do, sometimes that's the result.
Yeah.
Never feels quite like you've given it your all. It's an unusual corner, and it's very easy for a driver to lock an inside front brake in there. There's that wall that I spoke about on the exit of turn 7. Pretty much sorted out where you can and can't go in terms of track limits.
And we've opened the entry to it too. So remember that incident with Scott Pye, which almost blocked the whole of the racetrack? That's been widened to alleviate that issue at the same time. The right-hand front guard there's been smashed off Thomas Randall's Castrol Mustang, and that's made contact with probably the tyre bundle at turn 4. It's probably the most pronounced of any of the tyre bundles other than the turn 1 apex bundle.
Gives you a good idea of the headers damper by Supershock, the spring rate. Those very large AP brake rotors on the front of a supercar, which are gigantic relative to our road cars, I beg your pardon. And they have extraordinary stopping power. And those dampers work pretty hard around this place. It's a smoother track than it once was, but we rate it high for bumps where the shock velocity is more than a metre a second in a few places because of how hard you attack the curbs in different locations. There's several places around here where they really work hard, and clearly through turn 1, 2 is a big one.
So what do you reckon the front spring was there? 650?
No idea. I had no idea. Didn't pay that much attention. And they will not like the idea of us even speculating on it.
I'm just asking Playgrounds and Scott McLaughlin. We're all having bets in the combox. Up. Scotty reckons a higher. What do you reckon, CL? Oh, right, here we go. So basically none of us know.
The problem is that depending on the demographic in the commentary box here, folks, you're either going to talk newtons or you're going to talk pounds. The bloke talking at the moment is going to talk pounds, and I reckon it's more than what you said.
Okay.
And for those that don't understand radio, that was McLaughlin and Lowndes saying absolutely nothing in the background.
Is it 5.6, Oscar?
Stephen Grove and Michael Massey on screen. Stephen's the owner of Grove Racing. So Pye, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, 20.2, the number that's been set by Scott Pye. He's opened the account very strongly here today. And both those cars have been very strong off the bat from Team 18. They had an open day last Sunday in Melbourne, southeastern Melbourne, at the Team 18 headquarters, where they had lots of passionate fans came to have a look at the drivers and the cars up close. It's been a very successful outing. And this is Brock Feeney, who you had on the desk earlier in the day, Mark, who's put together a nice little rookie season here. He's solidly in the points. And I think one of the great challenges, and we've got 4 or 5 rookies in the field this weekend, high level of expectation when you turn up at Triple Eight or Red Bull, and not an easy thing to do when you're turning up to places that you've had little exposure to. Now, some of them have had Dunlop Super 2 and other support category exposure on the tour, but to get the most out of yourself and your supercar at 13 venues that we go to, this is about leaving nothing behind.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be able to command sufficient performance that you can't leave a 10th or 2 behind. That doesn't happen in a minute. It takes a long time to craft. So on balance, his has been a pretty impressive season. His second season and even his third season, it'll be a whole other deal again. If you go back and look at all of the big names in the sport over the years, as Sam Potter's watching Cam Waters,
We'll have a look at this thing.
it's rare to jump straight out of the box and be right at the absolute top of the tree, because you've got to learn the nuance of your engineer, the car, the tracks, and what they like and don't like. And of course, that gets scrambled even more next year, because that's a whole nother demand with a brand new car.
That's right. And I think the other thing that we often discount in this mad game that we play is the genuine competition and how difficult it is to compare yourself to a bloke like this. So I made the point earlier today, for me, it was Jim Richards when I was a young bloke coming through. For you, it was Peter Brock. So when you all of a sudden parked in the same garage and just alongside a bloke called Van Gisbergen, who's actually half going all right at the moment, you'd think, well, now you're a young bloke in your first year, the comparison's unfair.
But it's also, I think, from a competitive standpoint, it's the best scenario.
Yeah.
Because you're actually measuring yourself against the best.
The best, yeah.
You're understanding where he makes time, how he makes time, and you're either a good study or you're not. So it's a sudden death business, isn't it?
Yep.
Van Gisbergen at the moment is trying to hunt down a margin of 1/1000th of a second between he and Scott Pye. Tiny margin. Winterbottom's jumped up into third, but he got a curb strike. Holdsworth's actually, when you consider the amount of time that he lost on the racetrack, done a mighty job to jump up into fourth, and he was going faster in the first sector, which means he attacked turn 8 pretty well. David Reynolds, his teammate.
So, and just to clarify that with Lee Holdsworth, it wasn't leaking, it was breathing. You were trying to work out how it was leaking. It was breathing.
Yeah, okay. It depends whether you're at the source of the leak or you're receiving. But anyway, I
just want to clarify, just want to clear that up for people that just didn't quite understand. There's your wall. There's your wall you're talking about.
7.
That works.
Fixes all those track limits discussions.
Yep.
James Courtney through turn 8. Snowy River Caravan's entry. I've lost track of who's in which chassis now this year. I was on top of it for a while, but after a point in time, after there'd been Meccano sets on the workshop floor for the 10th time in the season, you start to lose track of which bit's on what car. I think at Tickford, any bit could be on any car at any given moment, because they've had a fraught year that Tim Edwards has been describing to us during the year.
This is a good lap, this one. This might be the best so far. He's put a very nice lap together. It's not quite as quick as Holdsworth in the middle sector, but it does a 19.9. So first one.
It came out of the final corner nice, didn't it? There was no wheel spin. So that margin now is nearly a third of a second again in favour of Van Gisbergen over Pye. So 4 minutes remaining. This will be something of a happy hour phase.
Ignore the checkered flag.
Ignore the checkered flag was the word. Yeah,
Ignoring the checkered flag. The session is not at the end.
Yeah, so I think I heard Van Gisbergen say there was a checkered flag.
I'm looking at it out the commentary box window. They've actually got the flag out there at the moment. I don't understand quite why. Okay. Yeah, maybe pull that one back.
Put that away.
Van Gisbergen, Pye, Winterbottom, Holdsworth, Mostert, Slade, Di Pasquale, Heimgartner, Brodie Kostecki, David Reynolds.
Ignore the flag, ignore the second flag. Session is still live.
3 minutes and 13 seconds live, in fact. So that looks a bit smoky in there. Is it breathing?
Stop it.
Total field spread at the moment is 1.9 seconds. You've got to go all the way back to position number 17 before it's north of 1 second. And the margin at the top end of the town's been fattened up a little bit at the moment between Van Gisbergen and Pye. 1/3 of a second, half a second spread Van Gisbergen to
approximately 2 minutes 30.
To Mark Winterbottom. That looked pretty wild, didn't it? James Golding had it well crossed up and
warming up. Yeah,
but it looked wild.
Yeah.
Not sure that you want to cross it up anymore.
So Brodie Kostecki now has done the fastest first sector. Lee Holdsworth fastest in the second sector. Pye fastest in the third sector. And all of those combined are it's only 1/10 of a second better than Van Gisbergen, who's actually the fastest in terms of cumulative lap time. Brodie Kostecki now just trying to get it stopped. He's a little bit slower than Lee, but only by about 1/10.5 in the middle, and he's actually on a number that is almost exactly the same as what Van Gisbergen at the end of Sector 2.
Jumping on now with Brodie Kostecki. This is turn 13 that we talked about before, where we saw James Golding all crossed up. Got to get it stopped and turned here. It's a big demand at the front end of the car in the final corner. Fire it out of there in first gear without too much wheel spin. Down that pit straight where you achieve 220 kilometres an hour. On the run into this first chicane, you've got to make a blind commitment. Fly it over the top of the curb, and he crossed it up with a nasty grab. So that thing got well out of shape, motocross style on the other side of it. As Heimgartner crosses the line. Now, Kostecki, by the way, has done a 19.8 in the middle of all that, and trouble here for Macaulay Jones. And he's parked down there at turn 9. Now, Thomas Randall has done a 19.8, so we are seeing
red
happy
flag,
hour.
Red flag, red flag. The session has red flag.
No, 59 seconds to go, and we've copped a red flag. And people will have been committed to their fresh tyre at the back end of that, and we won't get to see the best of it. So Brad Jones in the R&J Batteries outfit there, and his son Macaulay's had some catastrophe down there and has parked it up down in the braking area at turn 9. Andrew Jones on the right-hand side of screen. And unfortunately, proceedings come to a grinding halt with Thomas Randall, Brodie Kostecki, Cam Waters. So things got flicked around there at the back end quickly. So
this Mackett there, that's the contact. I was going to say that it's made contact with the fence on the left-hand side, but I think it actually bumped the guardrail on the inside. So that's what's happened. He's just bumped it. It's just been enough to get it off the vehicle trajectory that's perfect, and it's just run out of exit space. He hasn't hit it that hard, but it's certainly hit the left-hand front hard enough to grind it to a stop. Yeah, it's actually grounded now, isn't it? It's fully ground there. Can't even move the car.
He had some trouble down there in the braking area a few years ago when he was driving the Cool Drive entry. Had a nasty moment down there. Again, it's a little bit like what happened at the Gold Coast. The list of people that have met the fence on the outside at turn 8 is fairly vast.
Yep.
You had a little 9-eye there at one stage.
Had plenty. So good spread of field, because Thomas Randall with a 19.8, that's a very impressive lap. Brodie Kostecki, same, 19.80. Cam Waters, 19.87. Van Gisbergen, who probably had a tyre on and we didn't get to see him at his best. Heimgartner jumped up. Scott Pye was very strong for the whole session. Lee Holdsworth did a really good job after having that drama early. So there's a good spread there, Crompo. The ones that I'm sort of not really sure of, and we wouldn't have been able to tell at the end there with the fresher tyres, is Di Pasquale down in 14th, Courtney 16, Will Davison 17. Not sure about what their circumstance was, but Thomas Randall, I walked into the track with him yesterday, and he was really excited to have a go at this. He was blown away by what the South Australian government have done with the event. He's very, very positive about his sport and what he gets out of this game. He loves the whole combat of competing against those teammates. And there's the little bump on the fence. That's not a bad one. So for Brad Jones Racing, I think this is where
think it's bounced off that inside curb.
You don't think he bumped it?
I think, well, I'm not sure that he bumped it. It sounded like there's a bit of audio in the background, but it definitely got a bit of a bounce going on that inside curb. And that shot, it's already happened at that point, hasn't it? Doesn't take much to disturb the car there, and the right front corner of that car's been bruised. That's, as you say, in the scale and scope of things that have happened to turn 8, that's not a bad one, but that'll still take some number of hours to rectify. So in the Castrol Racing outfit, Thomas Randall goes back to talk to Raymond, his engineer. Great view of the final corner there, looking back towards the CBD. And here's our session results. The VALO Adelaide 500 on the Adelaide Street Circuit. Beautiful day here at the Parklands. Tiny margin in favour of Thomas Randall over Brodie Kostecki. And we all jumped back when we saw Brodie land off the top of the curbs down there at turn 2. Cam Waters, Shane Van Gisbergen, Andre Heimgartner, Pye, Fullwood, Winterbottom, and then Holdsworth and Brown. That's our top 10. And only 0.8 of a second covering those guys. Next in the queue, you can see the teammates, Nick Percat, Chaz Mostert, 11 and 12. I think where this is weird is, as Mark was explaining a moment ago, not everybody got onto their tyre. So that will mean that tomorrow's viewing is going to be fascinating when we have another practice session together with some qualifying and a lot more to come through this weekend. 4 days of activity. Back into the lane now with Garth.
With our fast man from practice 1 on the newly resurfaced Adelaide Parkland circuit. Congratulations, Thomas Randall.
Thanks, GT. I mean, look, I think the red flag definitely came out at a good time straight after I did my lap. And I don't know how many other people did a lap. I think Cam got a lap in, but you know, just a credit to the whole team, Tickford Racing, and yeah, the Castrol Racing Mustang was on song. I mean, a lot that's changed. I mean, obviously the layout hasn't changed, but the grip levels, and we started with a bit of oil on the track, and we started with you know, the Bathurst tyres, and then we went to the green at the end, which I think most people were wanting to do. But yeah, the hardest thing for me was, I guess, braking for the hairpin. You start braking on the old surface, and then halfway through it changes to the new surface, and there's a little bit of a bump there, but then there's quite a lot of grip. So I think that's probably somewhere I need to step up the marker. But no, the car was, yeah, we worked on it. It was really good. Good start for tomorrow.
I'll give you a reference. Your teammate Cam Waters did get a lap in on his green tyres, and you beat him, and he's a bit of a qualifying king, so your lap time's strong. Tell us about the curbs. Tell us about how the car flows over those.
I mean, just to go back on that, look, it's not qualifying yet. It's only practice, so won't put all my eggs in one basket yet. But the track is, the curbs, to be honest, turn 2 feels just as brutal as last time. That actually doesn't feel much different. Turn 1 probably feels a little bit smoother, but yeah, the curb lands off 2 is still quite aggressive, which is what we all probably love to see. So it's about just getting that wheel straight, get the turning done off 1, so the wheel's straight over turn 2, so there's not too much lateral load on the car. And then I think some of the curbs around your staircase section, like turn 5, I was taking most of that. So I think a lot of guys weren't taking that in previous years. But yeah, the curbs, I guess, are closer now to the track. Turn 8's still pretty bloody tough, but we made it through.
Oh, mate, it was a very good start to the weekend. Take that one, put it in the memory bank, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, Garth. Appreciate it.
Brodie Kostecki, last time you were here, you were racing the Dunlop Super 2. A little bit different now. What was it like out there?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think you just gave me a profanity lesson just prior to coming on TV. So yeah, it's pretty loose out there. The surface is really fast, and it's going to get quite a bit quicker throughout the weekend. So yeah, a bit of a learning curve for myself. Just trying to get myself up to speed, and yeah, it's really easy to make a mistake. So I thought the old surface was hard, but this is definitely a whole new challenge. So yeah, but the car's been pretty speedy, so pretty happy about that. And yeah, we're probably a few more changes away from being where I want to be, but yeah, it's a bit sort of tough at the end with the red flag there. A few guys didn't get runs, so yeah, we'll see where we stack up tomorrow.
You're definitely speedy. You got your lap in just before the red flag, and then it all looked fairly chaotic from the onboard just as you crossed the finish line. Yeah, I thought, I'll give it a crack on this second one, and I was completely wrong. So then make sure I don't do that tomorrow, and just make sure I don't overstep. So, but yeah, we'll see how we go, and yeah, get to drive the new Gen 3 now. So pretty excited about that. Thanks, Brodie. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Thanks.
Lee Holdsworth got the least amount of laps in that session out of the whole field, but still went inside the top 10. So there's some good signs there for this last weekend here in Adelaide for you.
Yeah, there is, Chad. Yeah, we rolled out and it was pretty close to the marks, a bit loose, which we expected on this surface. But yeah, we've had a bit of a drama with the engine. We're leaking oil onto the exhaust and getting plenty of smoke. You can smell it right now. So I hopefully not an engine change, but quite likely. But yeah, I mean, the positive thing is the car's pretty strong. We didn't make enough changes, towards the direction I wanted because of the engine drama. So, first day back at Adelaide 500 wasn't too bad.
When you have an issue like that, was Was it only when you stopped in here in the garage, or was it sort of smoky out there on the track as well?
No, I went through turn 11, which is a left-hander, and all of a sudden got a big puff of plume of smoke in the cab, and I could smell it was oil, engine oil. So brought it in the next lap, and obviously it smoked up in the garage. The boys, I'm not too sure, I haven't had a chance to talk to them about it, but it's leaking from somewhere, obviously, and we need to rectify it, and they weren't able to do that in practice, so we just tried to get a few more laps at the end.
Okay, fingers crossed for you, mate.
Cheers, Chad. Thanks.
Will Davison just debriefing there with his engineer, Richie Harris. Hey, Will, car 17, position 17, I got quite excited. I saw you put new rubber on, but I'm just observing your body language there with Richard. A little bit of frustration?
Sorry. No, not at all. No, all good. We obviously started a new tyre run then, and the red flag came out. So, no, we were just in and out a few times, so we didn't really get a time down. We were just throwing some changes at it because, as expected, the bitumen and the balance of the car is very different. So we just made some changes and definitely made some improvements. We just didn't really get a time down. So I was already half a second up in the first 3 corners, but the red came out.
So let me ask you, Will, we saw a lot of work going on in the rear of cars. I saw you guys got through a fair bit of work. Is that where we're going to see the drama this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think trying to get stability on the way into the corner, braking, I think is going to be something that, everyone will be tuning out of their car. So, there's a lot of grip on the track as expected in certain phases of the corner. Just a very weird feeling. It's like a billiard table smoothing spots. And it's like a sheen. You're sort of sliding across the top of the surface and there's no feel. Because you used to have so much feel here with the bumps and you had all these reference points. But now it all feels a bit strange, and I think we just needed laps. And unfortunately, I didn't get many laps then, but I'm happy enough. But by the end, I sort of know how to go and hit it now, and we're all right.
Let's just finish on a positive note, because clearly I can't play poker and read your face, mate. But the event, to be back at Adelaide, I mean, give me that vibe.
Very good, very good. We know it's a great event here, but it's probably like everything. If you lose something, when you get it back, you probably appreciate it even more. But the place looks spectacular. I mean, walking in this morning, you'd be forgiven if you thought it wasn't a Formula One Grand Prix. You know, it just presents unbelievably well, and it's really special to have this on our calendar. You know, it really is an amazing event, and surely we were never going to lose it.
Well said, mate.
Cheers.
Boost Mobile highlights now for the VALO Adelaide 500 Supercars back on the streets of the Adelaide Parkland circuit. Gorgeous day. Clear blue sky, 24 degrees, next to no breeze out there. A little bit of crosswind. A significant weekend as the industry says farewell officially to Holden as a nameplate in supercar competition. 30-minute session. A couple of the Holden teams dipping their hat to the Holden mark this weekend, including the Red Bull Ampol Racing team with new livery on both their cars, and Van Gisbergen carrying number 1. New colours on this car as well for Scott Pye. Toyota Forklifts backing Scotty this weekend. He's an Adelaide boy, has been very quick. They reported from the pit lane that lots of the teams were having to tweak behaviour at the back of the car just to try and settle them down. This driver, Cam Waters, has been over in the UK, just getting a little bit of driver coaching. Made a bit of a mistake coming into the braking area down here into turn 9, locked up that left front and ran it down into the runoff area. Got away with it, thankfully. We were salivating at the prospect of a new tyre run, and that's a nice new shiny Dunlop hard tyre on those cars that are rolling out. Unfortunately, it got cut ever so short. As he crossed the line right there, Brody Kostecki actually went to the very top at that moment. We were riding on board with him when he caught that motocross leap over the top of the turn 2 curbing, but unfortunately having made contact with the outside wall at turn 8, Corley Jones in the TRG Transport entry, local South Australian business, brought things to a halt, and with about 59 seconds remaining in the session, the red flag came out. So not everybody got the job done. Thomas Randall, though, was at the top of the pop charts. He did a 1:19.8 from Brody Kostecki and Cam Waters, positions 1, 2 and 3. More practice coming up again tomorrow, followed by Armour qualifying, leads us to a shootout and a big, big weekend of racing. Jess, there's something just nice and right about motor racing, and specifically supercars back on the streets of Adelaide.
It certainly is, Neil, and I think after that session, all that's left us is wanting more. Been robbed of a genuine form guide after 35 minutes of running here at the Adelaide Street Circuit today due to that red flag after the moment involving this car and Paulie Jones down there at the infamous turn 8. We did tease that today, that we would see some action. Probably weren't anticipating that we would maybe see it in that session, but we'll absolutely analyse how Macaulay has managed to do that damage to his cars. A fair bit of work for the boys tonight after what's been a tumultuous time for them. I mean, he was mixed up in all that drama on the Gold Coast, and there's been a fair bit of damage for BJR this year. But it is a tricky spot, Mark Scaife. What will Macaulay be looking at tonight to try and understand how this went wrong?
Well, I might have called it wrong when he got the guardrail on the inside. I think he might have just got the curb harder than